to this peace that you want to see in the country?
Right.
Yeah, so that is the question that as we start the day, ask yourself, is whatever you're doing contributing to whatever you want to see or whatever you want to see the country at?
I actually believe majority of Kenyans, the larger majority of Kenyans are very peace-loving people. Yes. Very few elements here and there maybe are of a different opinion. But a majority of Kenyans, I can confidently say 99.99% of Kenyans. If you were to take 50 million of us, I would say 49,999,900 peace-loving Kenyans.
So now the quote serves to remind you to continue taking that personal responsibility first of all.
Right.
If you want to see that outcome yenye ina cover everyone. And again, Pia, remember, Pia, I don't know, today I'm quoting the Bible so much. Like
preach.
I'm quoting the Bible. So
Bishop Patricia, preach.
I don't know nimesahau hiyo verse.
Imeenda hivyo.
No, like verse imepotea surely.
Itakuja tu.
Actually, it was about now the coming of Jesus Christ.
Okay.
Of course, he said he came for the sinners. That is why I'm saying now this quote, if you are in that element, that a few number of people ambao wapendi amani, hii quote basi imekuendea wewe
kabisa.
Yes.
All right. Now it's time for us to get into the news, what has been making headlines in the last couple of hours. In case you missed it, here we go. You can log on to rdk.co.ke. That is where you will get all the news and the politics, news about crime, entertainment, and anything else. Speaking of which, let's start with this story of our brother Bien. So apparently, Nakada has clapped back at Bien over alcohol ban, And this is what the story is about. The National Authority for the Campaign Against Alcohol and Drug Abuse, NACADA, has responded strongly to criticism from musician and influencer Bien Aime Baraza, who questioned the agency's new measures aimed at curbing alcohol and drug abuse among youth. Yeah. So, sorry. Bien had taken to Instagram to voice his concern over NACADA's move to raise the legal drinking age from 18 to 21 and ban online alcohol sales and celebrity endorsements. Maselebo wamekujiwa. First it was gambling.
Saizi sasa tumekuja katika
alcohol and you know, I think pia mambo ya sigara. Lakini mambo ya sigara hiyo ilipigwa marufuku kitambo. So he termed the measures as a censorship and a threat to the creative and advertising industries, especially for young people. Yeah. And this is what Bien said yesterday. NACADA now proposes banning alcohol advertising, online sales, and wants to change the legal drinking age to 21. The government recently banned advertising of betting. These bans affect the creative and advertising industries heavily. Now, he accused the government of hypocrisy, adding that what is this fake morality? Pretending to care about the very youth they are killing? Are we the first country to have these vices? Then we wonder why unemployment is so rampant. In response, NACADA acknowledged Bien's concerns and thanked him for using his platform to raise issues affecting the youth. However, NACADA clarified that the policy is not about censorship or morality, but about protecting public health and addressing a growing crisis. This is what NACADA stated. Kenya is facing a real crisis. Alcohol is the most abused substance, with first exposure starting as early as 13 years old. Not cool, is it? Youth are the primary targets of online influencer-led alcohol marketing, and this is a fact, right? ? The burden of addiction is costing families, schools, and our healthcare systems dearly, which is again an indisputable fact, NACADA stated. Haya, tumejua venye Bien alisema, tumejua venye NACADA wamesema. You can check the whole story by there on rdk.co.ke. It's quite the mouthful if you check it out, but there's more details in there. But let's just decipher it for a second. NACADA has decided or has shown intention to raise the drinking age from 18
to 21.
Question: do you agree or do you not agree?
Yeah, I support. Yeah.
Okay.
I think that the concerns that they raised are just genuine. They are genuine concerns. Like in that, you see right now, because if somebody is 18 18 to 21, these are
Right.
college students, by the way, university students.
Right.
Wengine bado they are still in secondary school.
Ndio.
Yeah, so you realize ukienda katika colleges and universities, alcohol is highly abused in those places.
Very true.
Actually, even to the tune of having students, mtu mwenye alienda kusoma lakini hata ingiangi hiyo class. It is
Ni mlevi.
partying. Yeah, saa yote tu ni every time anaingia kwa class akona hangovers, like, well, if it is going to change, maybe because they said it's not a matter of morality, which is still, it's part of morality. And again, also the issue of the effects that it has on education and so forth. I think I support.
Okay, so let's look at the facts for a second here. Nakada wenyewe wame admit that children as young as 13 years old
Taking alcohol.
have access to alcohol. I think over the weekend I was at a supermarket. Supermarkets nowadays have demarcated sehemu za pombe. So I saw students, 2 of them, clearly in uniform.
Yeah.
Inside that ka space. Na pale kwa mlango vizuri sana pameandikwa people under 18 years of age, or rather children under the age of 18 are not allowed here.
Yeah.
But these students, for some strange reason, found their way inside. And not a single adult inside there told them to exit. Okay? So I was actually going to go in and ask them, hey,
what are you doing here?
And there was an attendant of that supermarket inside there. So I was going to, first of all, just block them from leaving and ask the attendant, hey, what's the deal here? Because I'm imagining,
kwanza hata kwa school uniform.
Na akona school uniform. So I was imagining my children somewhere wameenda for a trip outside Nairobi and they happen to stumble inside a supermarket like that. Because you see, huo mwanafunzi maybe angeweza kupata access to that alcohol at that point. Sijui kama angefika kwa counter angeweza kuilipia, but the point is they were in a space that is restricted to people over the age of 18.
18, yeah.
What am I saying? I'm saying that responsibility starts with us, first of all, the adults.
Sure.
Yeah. Wewe kama mtu anauza pombe, usiuzie watoto pombe. Number 1. Ndio tusianze kuargue juu ya 13 years ama 18 years ama 21 years. The point is pombe isiuziwe watoto. Tuanzie hapo. And I think there should be some strict laws against selling alcohol to minors, and even worse, for giving alcohol to minors.
There are regulations and of course there is punishment too if you do not follow.
Yes.
But it's only that now Kenyans, we are just ignorant.
Yeah.
And especially when it comes like, this is not my child. Ni mtu sini customer amekuja kubai. So most of the time people are just ignorant. And like you're saying, kila mtu achukue responsibility. Tumeongea tu hata tukisema now the change that you want to see should start from you. Should start with you.
Yes.
So if today we said like kama we ni muuzaji wa pombe, first of all, kwa nini unauzia mtoto ambaye ako under 18? Kwanza leave alone the 21 now.
Right.
Talking of the 18, unaona vizuri tena mwingine ako in uniform.
Thank God that was a supermarket. I don't think angekubaliwa kwenda kulipia pale kwa counter, but I'm assuming had it been any other establishment that is not a supermarket, had it been a wines and spirits, for example, yeah, zile za mtaani pale,
zile za mtaani wanauza,
yeah,
they will sell.
So kunafaa kukuwa na sheria very strict ya kuzia watoto pombe, because I don't feel like raising the age limit is going to change much. Fine, I mean it's an effort towards the goal, but I don't feel like it will have that impact that we're looking for.
First of all, let us tighten
the laws
what we have. Yes.
Number 2, I like what Nakada has also said, that the burden rather of substance abuse on the families is great.
True.
Former Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua did say that was it 1 brother or 2 brothers? He lost a brother to alcoholism, and I'm sure many people listening to this message right now will probably say, I lost a friend to alcoholism, or a family member to alcoholism, a neighbor,
you know, someone somewhere mwenye ambaye amelemewa na pombe. Yes.
Na si kulemewa peke yake, pia kukufa, like someone lost their life to alcoholism, because alcohol comes with so many problems.
True.
Liver issues, kidney problems, brain damage, I think even heart damage, depending on just the level of alcohol that you've taken over the years. Haya, we can even go to the dysfunctional families because of alcoholism.
Sure.
The families where mama hata hakuangi sababu yeye kazi yake ni ulevi kutoka asubuhi mpaka jioni. Ama baba hakuangi, kazi yake ni ulevi kutoka asubuhi hadi jioni,
which is quite sad.
Yes. So my question again now to Nakada now, let me just flip the script a bit. Even if we raise the age limit to 21, does it mean that we have stopped this problem of alcohol addiction, or we have just postponed it by 3 years?
Well, you see now when somebody is over 18, let me just say, and if kuna wakati watu wamepush maswala ya pombe mpaka tukasongesha the timings that you people are supposed to take alcohol. I think zilieko mpaka timing, but still bado unapata watu bado wana,
you see,
bado watu wanarudi wanakunywa pombe.
Tutasema I think ilikuanga from 10 a.m.
to
10 p.m. The Mututho laws.
The Mututho laws, yes.
Yes, alcohol should not be sold before 10 a.m.
Yeah.
and after 10 p.m. So it was like a 10 to 10 rule, I think it was, yeah? So here's the thing. Do you know I can still buy alcohol and keep it stocked rather in my house?
You can.
Yeah. And I'll still bypass the 10 to 10 rule. Yes. So nyinyi mmefunga baa zenyu sawa, but I still have my alcohol in the house. And I'll drink it at 8 a.m., 7 a.m., 6 a.m., whatever time I want.
You see, the closure of the shops, the bar shops, was quite important in that, of course, it's ilisaidia co-regulate.
Yeah.
Because there are some people who just leave home in the morning. Na huyu mtu anaenda kushinda kwa bar. What time will you work? You get, so hata kama hatujamaliza the problem itself, but we have regulated to some extent, such that we are making people go work, wafanye kazi zao, because that was one of the key reasons zenye ilikuwa inasababisha.
Wacha sasa nikwambie, kuna mitaa baa huwa hazifungwi kabisa. Utaona mlango imefungwa ndio ile fine, hata lights zimezimwa sawa.
Like the people are inside there.
If you number one, they're inside, and number two, if you go and knock, you knock like that, unafunguliwa.
Okay.
Kuna mtu anajuanga niko na customers kutoka 6 a.m. Watu wa mijengo, carpenters, other kinds of workers. We have functioning alcoholics. Kuna mtu lazima apitie kwa hiyo bama whatever, apatiwe whatever yake akiendanga kazini.
Well, personally, I would say that those are just law breakers. Yeah, those are just law breakers,
but
and again, and they will not make us now to say that we are not going to again push for the laws.
No, I'm not saying we don't push.
Yes.
I'm just telling Nakada. First of all, work on what is work on tightening.
Yeah.
Yes. Because cops will come, watapata umefungua wakati ambao si wa mutudho. Sawa. You will give them that 100 bob bribe, and they will be on their way, and you continue operating your business. Yes.
Yeah, like I said, law breakers.
Yeah.
Hata tuzuia kama ni kupush, we are pushing.
21,
yes.
Tuipeleke hadi 21.
Yes.
But let's not forget, this 18-year-old person is out in the streets. Sawa. Very idle, unemployed. Yes. Na kale ka hustle kadogo anafanya, kanampatia just enough kwenda kuchukua kanusu kwa wines and spirits.
Anapiga.
So we have a bigger issue.
Well, I think if there's an agency that has a lot of work, I think it is the Nakada. I'm telling you, because if you look at all the drugs that have been all those vinywaji ambazo zimewekwa kama drugs, that Nakada has to fight, it's a lot. Yeah. Unaona vitu mob tu sana. But then now you realize, like last time I was interviewing one of the chairman of the board of Nakada,
right,
and he said that they really have a lot of work to do, and of course they wanted the government to empower them.
Yes.
Actually, kwa sababu unajua kija pale, for them to enforce that law, they need the backup of the government.
Yes.
So much. Kwa sababu mimi nikija, mimi ni Nakada officer.
Yes.
I come na kupata uko na club yako inafanya kazi. Nikikuuliza wewe unajuana sijui na nani na OCS wapi, ukienda huko unaregeshwa. So they really need the backup of the government to ensure that they reinforce the laws.
Let's go on to another story here. It's by Rose Achieng. And there's bad news, guys. Really bad news. I don't know how I'm going to help you on this one, but if you are a driver like myself, Eco Cedar, More pain at the pump as fuel prices rise by 8 shillings in EPRA review. EPRA is the Energy and Petroleum Regulatory Authority.
Yes.
And this is what they have said. Kenyans will now dig deeper into their pockets to fuel their vehicles and homes after the Energy and Petroleum Regulatory Authority EPRA announced a sharp increase in fuel prices, with petrol, diesel and kerosene rising by nearly 9 shillings per litre. Yeah? So this latest adjustment comes as a result of global shipping disruptions triggered by security concerns along major maritime oil routes. Following EPRA's latest review, the price of a litre of petrol in Nairobi has gone up by 8 shillings and 99 cents to 186. Diesel has increased by 8 shillings and 67 cents to about 171 shillings and 58 cents. While kerosene now costs 156 shillings and 58 cents per litre, which is up by 9 shillings and 65 cents. Now, this is a pump, or rather a jump from the previous prices of 177, 162 and 146 shillings respectively.
Quite unfortunate, eh?
Sasa hapa iko shida.
Mafuta ikipanda, and it's not, by the way, you talked of drivers like you, car owners like you, but then you have not talked of now the passengers, because
Yes,
once the cost of fuel goes up, of course now the fares also hike.
Yes.
Yeah, so it affects all of us.
Kila kitu kinapanda.
Yes.
Kusema kweli kitapanda, hata watu wa kerosene ndio hao wanaumia. Kama gas yako ilisha jana and you're planning to buy gas today, rest assured hiyo pia imepanda. Kitu kingine kitapanda ni tokens.
Kila kitu kinapanda, generally kila kitu kinapanda.
Tokens zitapanda pia za stima.
Yes.
So if your tokens are expiring today, or they have you've depleted them as of last night, and you want to buy them this morning, my friend, if
you're
you
buying at a different cost, eh?
Yes, if you bought 500, if you spent 500 shillings last time will you top up, and you probably got like 20 units, rest assured today the same 500 is probably gonna give you way less than 20 units. Yes.
Quite unfortunate.
Sasa, my issue is this. Do you know people are going to adjust the pump tonight, or rather this morning?
They have already.
Despite having stock ya jana.
They have already.
Despite having stock ya jana, mafuta imeshapanda at your local petrol station.
Those are some of the weird behaviors by the way of business people, and especially the issues of holding stock.
Yeah.
Na prices zikibadilika, you are there, unaenda unabadilisha price, yet you didn't even procure those goods at that price that you are
biashara. However,
so biashara inakuanga hivyo by the end. It's so unfortunate.
However, I once hosted she was a chair lady of these small petrol stations. Forget hizi kubwa kubwa, forget the Rubies, the Shell, Total. Kuna tule tudogo twa mtaani twenye jina maybe hata kutamka ni shida. I hosted now the chair lady in charge of those people, and she told me that sometimes they make so little money per liter that sometimes it's not even worth it. And sometimes they can even make like 50 cents per liter.
Okay.
And I asked her, so how do you guys survive? Akanambia, that's how we survive. Akanambia, sometimes you go negotiate with the supplier.
Supplier, yes.
Yes. Uone tu kama anaweza kukupatia hata reprieve ya shilingi. Yes. I have a friend who used to work at a petrol station. Sorry, who used to own a petrol station, and he shut it down. Why? Alikuwa anasema Mbuvi, I cannot be borrowing money every month just to do what? Just to
service the business.
To service the business in terms of buying petrol. Na sizo amekopa loan kwa bank. And by the time he's coming to pay that loan at the end of the month, hana profit yote, because the same profit that he was expecting ndiye amelipa kama interest ya loan.
So does it mean even though kunakuwa in the whole country?
To be honest, I don't know, but those are two people I spoke
or
to.
It is maybe those two people who do not know where to go and get their...
And they are two different people. It's not like they know each other. No, there's only one place you get your oil from. Sini Kenya pipeline. Hapo tu ndio unatoanga mafuta yako.
No, but like kuna other dynamics hapa katikati. Of course whoever is going for the nini for you, cost za hapo kwa njia nini
no, hiyo yote
tankers and all
yote inakuangesha costiwa. Ndio by the time unakuja kununua mafuta yako at 196 for example, all that has already been factored.
Yes.
That is why in Mombasa how you buy the fuel there is not the same price.
Different from here.
Yes, and in Kisumu it's not the same price. So they usually factor in the transportation costs and everything. So by the time you're buying at 177, hiyo ndio bei serikali imesema unafaa kununua nayo. Na hata wenye wamekuletea mafuta hawezi kukupandishia, hawezi kukureducia. But there are some petrol stations, if you see, they usually give discounts. Now what they do, they have negotiated directly, from what I understand, directly with mafuta mali imetoka huko Saudi, sijini wapi. So by the time wanakuja kuichukua wanaipata, kuna venye wanakuanga washa negotiate aka price. I think we need to interview these guys.
Well, yeah, we need somebody from uko.
We will interview one of these people.
Because it's so unfortunate. Jana boarded some Uber going home, that is from work.
Right.
And the guy, it was around 2 p.m. And this guy was telling me, kutoka asubuhi mpaka sasa. Imagine ameuza only like 400 shillings.
Mtu wa Uber.
Since morning.
Mtu wa Uber.
Yes. Mpaka 2 p.m. So namuuliza what is the problem? Akaniambia kuna watu wana pesa za kupanda hata Uber, watu wana nini. So I'm looking at now the impact of the increase in the price of fuel on such people, the Uber people.
Right.
Yeah. So we are living in such times when things are just so hard economically. Things are just so hard.
We need to start living like people of Burkina Faso.
How?
I watched a documentary and I saw that the entire country people are riding bicycles, number one, and motorbikes.
Yeah.
Yes. Magari ziko, seti ya zipo, lakini majority of the population.
They ride bicycles.
Even women.
Yeah. Actually, you know why?
Even women.
Do you know why they ride the bicycles? Like before you go to college, once you clear your secondary school, you are gifted a bike.
Bicycle or motorbike?
Yes, bicycle.
By who?
Everyone.
By your family, parents?
Yeah, they know very well that once you clear before now you go to college, it is a must that you be gifted a bicycle.
Now, I was gifted a bike when I was, I think, uko Manasari school.
Uko ni hivyo. So, like, mtu ataitumia kienda college, nini, then akimaliza, anaacha. Alafu again, I was also looking at how they have, like, sisi vile tuko na NYS. There, first thing, vijana wanaenda hizo trainings zenye mnafundishwa. Wanapelekwa kwanza kufundishwa mambo na agriculture.
Yeah.
Mnapelekwa kwa shamba. You are being taught how to do agriculture. So you work there, I don't know for how long. Then after that, now you choose where you want to go. Like it is a mandatory pale.
I think we need to reintroduce that because we had that back in the day, Kenya. Our parents tell us, keep on telling us that, sisi tukiwa young kila mtu alikuwa anaenda NYS. It was mandatory.
Yeah.
Haikuanga cha ati siku hizi ni tafadhali. And NYS that time was way different from the NYS we have right now.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, unajua by the ukienda huko, you come out with great skills. Unajua nowadays most of the time the young people, the young generation, tumelelewa tukijua kwamba kazi ni mjini. Staying working at home, like unalima, that is not work. Like we did not go to school to come back at home and start
kwenda kwa shamba
and so forth, and that is a very wrong mentality, and that is why tuliona tulifika mahali inakuwa tunapata problem with food supply in our country and so forth. Like, so if tunaweza kurudi huko, by the way, every student akimaliza form 4 wapitie kwanza NYS.
Mimi najua si kwenda NYS, lakini every holiday, December holiday, we used to go to Shags. And my parents would leave us there for the entire holiday.
That was your NYS.
That was our NYS. So you can imagine living with your grandmother. You have to wake up every morning, go to the cow shed, milk the cow, take the goats and the cows to let me call it forest. To the forest to eat. Return them at I think it tulikuwa narudi saa ngapi? Was it lunchtime or what time?
Yeah, it's lunchtime.
Then water the cows before you take them back to the shed, funga, then ingia pale jikoni, kula githeri.
After githeri,
The first few days I used to loathe that experience, but after a while I actually used to look forward to December holidays because it taught me something and it hardened me to some extent, because had I not done that, by the ningekuwa kama mtu woye saizi kwa ningekuwa shamba kwa tunalima. My grandmother taught me how to plant seeds. So I would go to the shamba and what is it called, dig, plant, and even harvest when the food is ready. And I was like, wow. So right now mimi mkinitupa kwa bush huko,
you can still survive.
Assuming there was a zombie apocalypse in Kenya, mimi nita survive.
Well, I'm looking at the young people wenye wamelelewa huku mjini.
Yes.
Mtu hii hata ajui ng'ombe.
Kwanza akisikia ikimuua anatoka mbio.
Ati ng'ombe, ajui mbuzi, such things. You know, it's important. These are things that we are neglecting that are quite important in our lives. Hata ukiishi aje,
right.
You know, those things are quite important. They are skills that are quite important.
All right. Let's move on to another story here. This one is about a vacancy. I don't know if you're qualified for this particular position, but vacancies have been declared in the office of the Registrar of Political Parties. Now, the Public Service Commission has announced vacancies for the positions of Registrar and Assistant Registrar of Political Parties, calling on qualified candidates to submit their applications in line with the Political Parties Act. The position fell vacant after former Registrar of Political Parties Anne Njeri Nderito was sworn in last Friday as a commissioner of the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission. In a notice issued on Tuesday under sections 33, 34 and 34A of the Political Parties Act, the commission stated that suitable candidates for the registrar position must hold a degree from a recognized university and have at least 15 years of post-qualification experience in fields such as finance, law, governance, management, political science or public administration. Uko na gani hapo?
Hapo ziko nyingi.
Sikiza. Fields such as finance. Uko na finance? Uko na finance?
Yeah.
Uko na finance?
My first degree is in finance.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that. Aya, law. Uko na law?
Law sina.
Governance?
Niko hapo kwa process.
Okay. Management?
Hiyo niko nayo.
Management gani? Aya. Political science?
Hiyo sina.
And public administration?
Hiyo hatuna.
Haya. Wacha mimi nikwambie yenye niko nayo hapa. Niko na hakuna.
Kati ya hizo zote.
So, finance, nothing.
But your master's is in what?
Ngoja kidogo. Finance, nothing. Law, zero. Governance, wapi. Management, the only thing I've managed is my family. Political science, hamna. Public administration, mimi zikuwa chief PC ama anything. So mimi hii kazi degree at least tuko nazo, hizo hazina shida. Lakini hizi zingine sijui unless because you've said experience in fields such as.
You have experience in most of those fields.
I don't have a finance degree. The only finance I do is kuangalia ATM saa zile mshahara imeingia. Period.
Sorry.
Law, the only law I know is the law of the jungle. How to survive. Governance, let's be honest, I won't even talk about that. Management, again, I've just said the biggest thing I've managed is my family.
But if you can manage your family, you can manage many other things.
Yeah, especially my kids, they're noisy. Political science, we're not even going to talk about it. And then public administration.
But you have experience in that.
If speaking on radio and TV is
experience.
Public administration, then I am quite qualified for this job. Yeah.
Okay.
But dear Kenyans, if you are qualified for this particular job, applicants must also demonstrate high moral character and integrity and meet the ethical standards set out in Chapter 6 of the Constitution. Again, let me repeat. Applicants must also demonstrate, apart from your degrees and your experience, you must demonstrate high, not just any, but high moral character and integrity and meet the ethical standards set out in Chapter 6 of the Constitution.
Okay. Yeah. Good luck to whoever will be applying.
Do you have high moral character?
Of course.
Do you have do you meet the do you have, first of all, do you have high moral character and integrity?
Are you asking me or the listener?
I'm asking you as Patricia Wayo.
No.
So you don't have integrity?
I'm saying you should not, because I've not shown any interest in
the job.
This. Yes.
Okay. And also, so they're saying that meet the ethical standards set out in chapter 6 of the Constitution. Haya, hapa si watu wengi.
Government jobs. Of course, a lot of requirements there.
Now, if you're wondering what this job entails, the registrar of political parties plays a critical role in overseeing the functioning of political parties in the country. Key responsibilities include registering, regulating, monitoring, investigating, and supervising political parties to ensure they comply with the law. Haya, kazi ndio wa Kenya. Msiseme ati Kenya hakuna kazi, na mmeambiwa kuna kazi ya registrar of political parties.
Okay,
yeah. So
good luck to whoever will be applying.
All the best to those who do decide. All the best to those who do decide to go for these particular positions.
Mungala, there's this there's some news here about this woman exploitation of minors. This is so bad.
Okay.
On our website there, of course, you're gonna find that story there. It's about this one woman identified as Regina Kauli Munyoki, who is accused of uploading sexually explicit content involving her 3 children aged 13, 7 and 4 on a dating site known as Afro Introductions. Yani wewe mzazi,
watoto wake,
your children,
si watoto wa mtu mwingine, hawa ni wake.
Like, okay, hii dunia yetu sijui what is the problem.
So she's called Munyoki.
Yes, Kauli Munyoki. This is okay. According to the Directorate of Criminal Investigations, that is DCI, the suspects, a 41-year-old woman and her husband of 52 years, were allegedly using an online dating platform to market their own children for sexual purposes in exchange for money. Weka watoto hapo.
Do you know how old the minors are?
Yeah, I said. Moja kona 11. Is it 11? Sorry, let me get 13, 7 and 4.
13, 7 and 4.
Yes.
Are they girls? Are they boys? Ama it's a mixture?
Ajasema kama ni wasichana ama ni nini? Yeah.
Okay, it doesn't really matter. I just wanted to understand, but why would anyone do that to her children, especially a mother?
I think
again, it's not that it's okay for a father to do that, but still, we expect mothers are more compassionate.
Actually, they were both of them.
Also, it's both mother and father doing this to their children.
Wanatafuta pesa using their children, like menda mnaeka watoto wenu kwa those sites.
I usually have random conversations with my significant other, and some of the questions we usually ask each other is, if worse came to us, tusemeni tumechapa kabisa hatuna kitu, how low would we go to ensure survival? But not once have we ever thought of such a thing.
Like, how do you
how do you put your children out there like
you
that?
are the one who's supposed to protect your child. Yeah, you are the one who's supposed, actually you are the first person to protect your children. Wewe ndo umewaweka pale, like I think
kwanza mama mzazi, unajua kuna vitu zingine mi nikasikia mama amefanya kidogo najiuliza maswali.
Personally, whoever it is, because if it is the father also, ni mtoi wako, like how do you put your child for sexual exploitation?
The reason why I'm shocked about the mom, again, I've said it's not okay for the father to do it, but I'm just saying the one person I would expect to protect her children, number one,
should be the mother,
unequivocally,
the motherly instinct,
ni mama. I wouldn't expect to see, I mean, I've seen mothers selling themselves,
but not their children.
Because the reason why you're doing this, you're doing it for your kids. It doesn't make it okay, fine, but the reason why you're sacrificing yourself, you're doing it for your children, so that your children do not have to do that thing.
Well, I think let me just now look at it from this perspective. I've seen so many women also actually, especially at the coast, along the coastal line, that is where a lot of issues to do with sex exploitation
Right.
are on the high. So you see a mother coming to the streets together with their daughter. Have you not heard of such?
I mean, I have, for
Yes,
sure.
yes, with their daughter. Now, the reason why this one looks different is because now it is online. But actually, women who have been doing this, if your house is where now it's now the business house,
Yeah.
you are bringing people to your house,
Kumaanisha watoto wako wataona
and
kile
your
unafanya.
children are there. We have had testimonies from so many young girls saying like, I'm in this problem because my mother introduced me to this. Yeah, because my mother used to bring people, and again, you may not necessarily introduce them, but because they see what you're doing, they see you bring men, and when you bring them, the men now turn to the girls.
Yeah.
Yes. So that is something that happens in many, many, many cases, and it's so unfortunate. Now this one has taken it further on social media. You get on those dating platforms. Yeah, it's quite unfortunate. Like hata kama mko na shida aje, like
And then now the other sad part is that there's someone willing to buy that content.
Of course.
There's someone willing to buy that content or pay to have time with those kids.
That's why I usually say the world outside there is not good. It's not, yani it's bad. Ni wewe sasa kama mzazi pia you have to protect. Na sasa if you're the person supposed to protect your child na ndo unampeana,
then wewe si
it's
mzazi.
quite unfortunate. Yeah. And again, human rights violation. These are kids, they have their rights.
Yeah.
Kids have the right to be protected from such materials.
Aye. Let's talk about, it's like not a single day goes by without us having to talk about abductions and other kinds of issues, because here there's a story about the family of Hussein Abdirahman Mohammed, the assistant county commissioner for Wajir, who has filed a legal suit seeking his immediate production in court following his mysterious disappearance earlier this month. Let me read that again. The family of Hussein Abdirahman Mohammed, the assistant county commissioner for Wajir, has filed a legal suit. It's the family that has filed a legal suit seeking his immediate production in court following his mysterious disappearance earlier this month. Hussein, who also heads the Huduma Center in Wajir, was last seen on July 8th, 2025. Since then, there has been no trace of his whereabouts within the county or country, according to his family. In a certificate of urgency filed at the Milimani Criminal Division, the family is demanding that Inspector General of Police Douglas Kanja, the Attorney General, and the Director of Public Prosecutions be compelled to produce Hussein, either alive or dead, for the court. Another case. I hope this one won't be another case of a fake abduction or a staged abduction or something that will water down what has been happening to other individuals and basically water down the efforts the country is trying to put in to ensure that we don't see more of this.
Yeah, because of course we are somewhere right now. So ile case moja tu ile nasema kwamba now it is a reference. Most of the time has been used as a reference that people can kidnap themselves.
It's very possible though.
Yeah, na watoke baadaye, so it is possible.
Aye. Kuna story hapa katika The Star newspaper inasema hivi: President's tough job of quelling Gen Z crisis. I think we concluded last week that it's no longer a Gen Z situation. It's a cross generational situation. Gen zote. Generation zote. So but anyway, the story by The Star is on page 4 and 5, yeah? And we can see there on the front page, demonstrators pour out into the streets of Nairobi to mark the first anniversary of June 2024 killings, in which 60 Gen Zs were shot and killed by the police. And there's a photo there of our president, that is Dr. William Samoei Ruto. So if you want to read more of that, page 4 and 5. Now, Muranga man whose innovation ended villagers' network wars. So he's on page 2. So there's a man in Muranga who innovated something to do with the network. Tutaangalia ni nini hiyo. On page 7, country bursaries blow as control of budget halts their funding. Yeah, county bursaries blow as control of budget halts their funding. That story is on page 7. Nikiangalia hiyo page tulikuwa tumesema tuangalia ya Murang'a Man kwa page 2. Murang'a Man's innovation ends villagers network wars. So this guy, he's called John Mwangi.
What has he innovated?
Yeah, so he's a 20-year-old from Merereine village in Madhyoya, Murang'a, who is the pride of his village. So Mwangi, who completed his secondary education last year, has established network boosting equipment that has saved his village from perennial communication wars. For years, villagers had to leave their homes and walk to Cairo or Gashareine shopping centers to make phone calls, while others would walk up higher hills for their mobile phones to become usable. Now, this is because telecommunication companies did not provide network strong enough for the villagers. And Mwangi has now innovated equipment that inawasaidia kufanya nini? Kuboost network.
Good.
So mimi niko na swali.
Congratulations to him.
Mbona Mwangi anatengeneza vitu na tuko na the telcos? We have Safaricom, we have Airtel, we have Equitel, we have Telcom. Si wapeleke tu equipment yao huko?
No, I think it's good. Let's support that innovation.
Yeah,
quite important. You know why? Because even if these are big companies, where will he have gotten that opportunity to innovate?
You see, he innovated because of the lack of that particular network.
And most of the innovations, to solve a problem somewhere.
But my question
innovate
is
to solve a problem somewhere.
My question is because what he has invented is not really an invention. It's more of an innovative way of helping his village mates to make phone calls. Sindio? That technology is already in existence.
Yes.
Safaricom has it. Airtel wako nayo. Telecom wako nayo. Equitel wako nayo. So mbona tu hawakupeleka equipment zao huko before huyu kijana ajisumbue kutengeneza hizi vitu? Kazi mzuri kwake, by the same time amefanya kitu kibaya. I'm not saying that also amewaste wakati wake, but I'm just saying now that he has done this, akina Safaricom wamlipe tafadhali.
Yeah, basically that is now what we should be talking about, not why he has to innovate that, because you realize that in many places ukienda hata katika huko kwenye borders huko ama places where kuna valleys huko ndani, most of the time these networks huwa hazifiki kule. Hata za radio pia you realize wanga kuna problem. So kama anaweza kupata such an innovation asaidie inchi, the better.
Yeah, sasa kitu tumekuja kudiscover about this young man is that he has the engineering DNA in him.
Great.
So now what Safaricom, Airtel, Telcom and Equitel need to do,
they should take him actually.
Wampeleke university.
Yes.
Wamsomeshe wakitumia pesa yao. I don't know which company will come out first and educate this young man. Wamlipie mpaka engineering inachukuanga miaka 5.
Because these are the minds that we need. Actually utapata kama ni Safaricom, kama ni hao wengine, they need this kind of great minds.
Then akishapata degree yake, wamabsorb into the market.
Of course.
Wampatie kazi.
Yes.
All right? Na in the process of him kufanya kazi, wamlipie masters bado.
Aendelee kuleta solutions
to the mpaka PhD.
You know, I was also looking at, kuna watu tu nje wako so innovative, wako so creative, and you never know, your creativity, your innovation can open for you doors. Sijui kama uliona siku ya maandamano, there's this young boy anaitwa the press boy. Sijui kama umeona story yake kwa social media.
Alifanya.
He was just being creative and posing as a press person for Equity Bank. And that is how he ended up now. Equity wamemchukua, like wanaenda kumsaidia. So you never know.
During maandamano?
Yes, maandamano, he was reporting as a
Equity.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So right. Such things, we encourage that such things. If you feel like ukona creativity ambayo can change the world, welcome.
All right. Meet Kibulanga, a Swahili ambassador to the world. He has made several documentaries and delivered lectures in universities. Yeah, so this is Omar Kibulanga at Tete series premiere. Pale anaonekana akiongea kwenye microphone. He's an ambassador for the Swahili language. Yeah, anaongea Kiswahili mufti. What do you have on your paper?
The Daily Nation, biggest story, reckless talk. Political leaders make charged declarations during public rallies across the country. With just over 2 years to the next general election, Some politicians associated with the Kenya Kwanza administration have started sowing seeds of discord with utterances about rigging the 2027 presidential contest. The new IEBC team has denounced their claims, while opposition leaders want action taken on the offenders. That is on page 4 and page 5. Baringo North MP Joseph McLap, this is what he said: Dr. Ruto must stay. Let it not be that when a leader comes from our region, we say he must go, but when from another region, no one pushes such an agenda. Kapseret MP Oscar Sudi said, those online critics shouting Ruto must go, whether they jump, go down or move sideways, Ruto is not going anywhere. Even if his votes won't be enough, we will add them. Askia? Wajir woman representative Fatuma akasema, when it comes to the president, we say 2 terms. We are just waiting for the ballot. Even if we don't have enough votes, we will steal for him. That's no secret.
Yeah.
TRT MP William Kamket said, if they joke around, you know I come from the county of 24 years. Baringo County knows how to manufacture a president to survive for 24 years. If they joke, we might even extend past the 2 terms.
I'm laughing. I'm laughing because that is laughable. He comes from the county of 24.
Yes.
Aye.
And they know how to manufacture presidents. Yeah.
For 2 terms.
Yes.
For past 2 terms. More than 2 terms.
Sometimes, Mbuvi, I have told you that the president may not be the problem. Those people around him sometimes wana mess.
Mimi niko na swali. Now that tumesoma hizo comments zote. Mheshimiwa Rais anasema nini kuhusu hawa?
Hatujasikia akisema chochote, but IEBC imekuja kasema no. Imeji distance from those remarks of those people. You know, having this kind of leaders in your boat, you know, most of the time utakuwa unapata wanakuingiza katika maji. Because yesterday by the way, nikienda pia nyumbani, like that guy, the Uber guy, was telling me, look at what that woman representative said. You know, the word went around actually. So kila mtu anajua what she said. Sasa now, like, na jana tukizungumza hapa, you know, what he told us, the deputy government spokesperson, when he told us that most of these people, an MP, huwa ndio watu wa kwanza spokesperson for their ministry, ama for their whatever. So now, when they speak like this, who are they representing?
It's a good question. It's actually a very good question.
Are they speaking on behalf of their constituencies?
I mean, I think it's maybe an opportunity for us to call them and ask them those very tough questions. Yes. Or maybe they tell us what they meant.
Yeah.
Because you just can't wake up one day and tell 50 whatever million people,
yes,
that you're going to decide the future for them even if they don't want it.
Whether you like it or not.
Yes. Whether they like it or not. If they like it, fine. But if they don't, bado it's not fine.
It's so unfortunate. Wala. Yeah. These are the kind of utterances. Na sasa utaona upande wa opposition, they will come. They will hit back. Na sasa tunaanza tu ule mzunguko hapa.
Merry go round.
Yeah, tutaanza mzunguko huko. Like, this is quite unfortunate for leaders like this to talk like that. Wanaharibia raisi jamani.
So there's a story on the Standard that says, muzzled by the state, a public servant in Nanyuki is living proof of the damage police brutality inflicts on society. Chief Martin Karioki Rienye, father to Julia Wangoi, the latest victim of deadly police violence while in custody, is now a broken man. Gagged from speaking to the media, he is trapped in a cruel dilemma, standing with a grieving public demanding justice, or serving a government whose own officers caused his daughter's death. He cannot serve a government that killed his daughter. I told the deputy county commissioner to fire him if he's too afraid to act. 30,000 shillings a month is not worth my grandchild's blood. I have told him you can't wear a badge with pride when that badge is silent about your child's death. Aya, tutaingia kwenye news sasa hivi. Then when we return, of course, we shall be having that conversation and much more. So do stand by for that. In terms of the newspaper review, we shall be checking out what is trending. And then after that, of course, we shall be telling you who our guest is for this morning. So don't go too far. We'll be right back.
Radio Generation, home of hard truths and bold insights.
Radio Generation, the sound is fine. Pump it up, turn it high all the time. Let the music move you, let's sway. Radio G's got your jam all day.
Radio Generation, the home of urban soul. This is the Radio Generation News.
Good morning, I'm Winnie Maganga. 2 people were killed on Monday morning in a deadly improvised explosive device attack in Bodai, Mada Adon within Garissa County. Authorities suspect the attack was carried out by Al-Shabaab militants who continue to pose a serious security threat in the region. The victims have been identified as Mohammed Shabel Bashir and Abdikadir Mohammed Salat. Initial reports indicate that the IED detonated during the early hours, targeted 2 individuals as they traveled through the area. Ijara Member of Parliament Abdi Ali Abdi condemned the attack, calling it a senseless act of violence and a painful reminder of the ongoing threats to peace and security in the region. The Kenya Union of Clinical Officers has put Nairobi County on notice of a failure to address a clinician's concerns despite having been on strike since the 21st of April 2025. According to KUSO, operations in hospitals across the country have been greatly affected, with the level 4 and 5 facilities worst affected. Led by Union's chairperson Peterson Washira, they say they want to bring to the public attention the dire situation affecting health services delivery in Nairobi City County. They say the situation has been occasioned by the ongoing industrial action by clinical officers, which has now entered its 83rd day.
Many facilities around Nairobi have not been working, and even those that have been working have not been working optimally. But what is more concerning is the carefree nature with which the county government of Nairobi has been handling these issues. For almost 3 months now, we have not seen the governor try to address these issues.
Our members have stagnated at the same job group for the longest, and now we have a new policy document that dictates our employment from internship to retirement that the county government promises to implement but does nothing in regards to its implementation.
There was heightened tension in Likki slums in Nanyuki after police officers moved to block demonstrators from accessing the town's CBD. The protesters were sparked by outrage over the death of a 24-year-old Julian Njoki, who allegedly succumbed to injuries sustained while in police custody. The demonstrators, mostly youth, took to the streets demanding justice for Njoki. They lit bonfires and erected barricades along the main road leading into Nanyuki, insisting that the officer accused of assaulting her be held accountable.
No, I need explanation right now. Nataka niambiwe Julia aliuliwa na nani? And what did she do? I know it's hard for me. Huyu ni mtoto wangu wa kwanza. Yeah, mbegu ya Kariuki ya kwanza ndio hii. Wameua. Walikuwa polisi 13. They were guiding us all through. And when we go to see Julie, they were following us. So it is just intimidation of the family so that we don't talk. Even right now, they are threatening. Wananipigia tadi wa hawa, wananipigia simu hapa so that I don't talk. I'll talk on the top of my mouth because of Julie. I will. And I need to be killed now by this police behind me here. Yeah. The only person who came in the police station is bwana DCC na mapolisi wale wakubwa kwa na mawe makubwa wakaniambia I play cool so that we don't take this thing up. What about tomorrow? What about the children tomorrow?
Interior Cabinet Secretary Kipchumba Murkomen has assured the country and international community of security ahead of the African Nations Championship in August. Speaking after inspecting Nyayo and Kasarani stadiums on Monday, Murkomen said the government has put in place comprehensive security protocols to ensure the success of the Continental Football Tournament. The CS also noted that the stadiums are equipped with CCTV cameras enabling real-time surveillance and enhanced crowd monitoring.
Usalama katika viwanja vyetu vyote iko sawa na tumehakikisha kwamba ile mitambo yote imewekwa hapa ya kupasa sauti, ya kuzima moto, hata jinsi ambavyo unaweza kuingia katika uwanja huu na Nyayo imewekwa vizuri kuhakikisha kwamba hatutakuwa na madhara yoyote na hatutakuwa na msongamano ama ile msukumano.
And that's the truth on Radio Generation. Good morning. I'm Winnie Maganga.
Radio Generation, the home of urban soul. In the beginning, there was morning radio.
I've never seen anything like this.
But now there is Radio Generation's The People's Breakfast, curious and bold, getting facts from the shadows.
That's what it is.
Now, as the city wakes and secrets stir, a bright new voice shines. The People's Breakfast, your morning, your voice, your journey.
You got it locked.
Good morning.
Good morning, my neighbor.
Welcome to the home of hard truths and bold insights, Radio Generation.
Yes, indeed, this is Radio Generation. My name is Mungala Mbuvi, the People's Breakfast, and we are in that particular hour where we have our very interesting conversation, an important conversation as well. So our guest is going to be joining us shortly, but as they do that, the newspaper check still continues, and we had just stopped by reading the front page of the Standard where we said that there's this chief who's been muzzled by the state, and he is the father of the lady who died on Friday, I think it was. She had been taken to a prison.
Yeah.
And she was found with a gunshot wound. Yeah. So now, his father, a chief working for the government, cannot comment on the issue.
Yeah.
Yet he is hurting.
Quite
So
unfortunate.
his mother, the grandmother to the dead girl, amemwambia, my son, make a choice. Make a choice. You cannot continue working for the same government that has robbed me of my grandchild, your child. So it's quite a sad situation. Very sad situation.
Okay.
Yeah. So I guess on this particular point, we'll just wait for more investigations to be done. But we are reading these stories every single week, and
It's quite painful.
we are reading these stories every week, and I think we need to have an end to the situation. Not to the reading, but something needs to be done. We can't just be reading of people being shot by cops. This is a lady, she was literally in prison awaiting her day in court. But she has turned up dead. Alipelekwa mochari. Wazazi wake wanaambiwa hawezi sema chochote. Sababu baba yake ni chief ambaye anafanyia kazi
You
nini?
work for the government.
Serikali.
Yes. It's quite unfortunate.
Still on the front page, embattled DIG walks back to office. Eliud Lagat was saluted by his juniors at Vigilance House yesterday and later met his boss, the IG, even as IPOA issued a statement indicating he is not out of the woods yet. That story is on page 6. I think you asked me this question, was it yesterday? You asked me just like that, story ya Eliud imeisha. Na nikakwambia, the only thing they can do right now is follow the evidence, period. If the evidence doesn't point at Eliud, then it is what it is. Yes.
Okay.
David hapo tumengoja tu.
Hapo hata sisemi kitu. Yeah, sisemi kitu.
Page 2 inasema Kenya takes part in trials of fast malaria treatment for newborns. You told us about this story last week. Chanjo ya malaria. Acha tuone itakuwa namna gani. High Court blocks Safaricom's Bonga Points expiry plan. So the High Court in Nairobi has refused to lift its order preventing Safaricom from introducing expiry dates for bonga points and restricting non-merchandise redemption. On October 28th, 2022, Safaricom publicly announced that bonga points would henceforth expire. However, on November 22nd, 2024, Justice Chacha Mwita declared the notice illegal, unconstitutional, null and void, ruling that bonga points once earned become the customer's property. Nataka kucheka. Uko na points ngapi?
Hata sijui. I think I do use mine every now and then.
Yeah.
Mimi I have never like stay kusanya hizo bonga points. I do use them.
There's a time my mother had so many points that she redeemed them for a phone.
Yeah, I remember then hiyo time watu walikuwa na redeem sana for phones. I'll use it for airtime.
Yeah. There's a time I also had so many points. I went to a Safaricom shop and redeemed them, I think, for a power bank and some earphones. Kuna vitu nilichukua tu. Because I realized I had so many of them.
Yeah, okay.
And I think it was around that time that Safaricom said that they were going to start expiring.
Okay.
Yes. Well, me usually accumulate them for years.
I have never accumulated them sana. Nikiona zinasonga, I use them.
So unachukuanga nini?
I think they're encouraging people to start using them or to accumulate for the rest of your life, man. Like your 40 years. Ujai redeem your bonga points ziko tu hapo. Utakuja kuwashtua siku moja.
Nitaenda kuangalia bonga points zangu ni ngapi. Acha niangalie sasa chini ya maji haraka.
Yeah, you can always check, and if you want to use them unatumia. So you saying it is now it's a tall order?
Yes. So Justice Chacha Mwita amesema hiyo story ya expiry.
Watoe stories ya expiry. I like the points zenye naweza penda sana na nitatetea sana ni zile points zenye you get when you go to the supermarket.
Right.
You are registered, you buy, you do your purchases, then you get those points.
Loyalty points. Yes.
Because zinasaidia sana, by the way. No, I didn't know actually 1 point is equivalent to 1 shilling.
No. Oh yeah, depending on the supermarket.
On the supermarket.
Yes.
So there's this one supermarket whereby myself I went and redeemed. Imagine nilifanya shopping ya 4,000.
Nimepata niko na bonga points mingi.
Utanigawia tutaongea chini ya maji. So mimi nilikuwa na like 4,500.
Okay.
Points kwa hiyo supermarket.
So that was equivalent to 1 shilling. So you had 4,000 shillings to spend.
Nikaenda nikafanya shopping. I didn't know.
Now you know.
Sijui kama watu uko nje mnajua hizo points they are equivalent to 1 shilling. You know, that is what surprised me.
There's a time also, yes, nilitumia zangu za when Nani was Nakumat was still in existence. There's a time I actually did a huge shopping with my loyalty points, like we like calling them.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
What is on your newspaper? Nimeona ulikuwa nafungua huko.
Well, still on a Daily Nation on the top page, or Lagat resumes office as bid to stop return flops. Hiyo tulikuwa tumezungumzia. It is just across all the newspapers.
Yes.
Then there's also this story about school capitation. Release capitation funds. School heads now demand as cash wars bite. Principals of public secondary schools have demanded that the government releases over 18 billion shillings owed to the institutions since the beginning of the calendar year, warning that the shortfall has negatively affected learning. On page 10. Lakini tukisema pesa, especially vitu za mambo na shule, why do we have to delay them like this? I think this is quite important. Manake wanafunzi when they go to school, by the way, wanakula, kuna so many things that need to be done for education to continue, for learning to continue. So I think they should be given a priority.
Yes.
Issues to do with education, I keep on saying education, health, wacha hizo vitu zipatiwe priority.
Right.
Yeah, zipewe priority. Then it has been revealed about ghost workers, ghost staff. It has been revealed that plumbers and teachers posed as health workers in the 9 billion UHC scandal. Some 3,000 of the 8,571 health staff deployed to COVID-19 frontlines in 2020 were not medics. Officials conducting a national head count of the workers have found out. On page 2.
Nani alikuwa atuambia pa juzi that kuna mtu alikuanga na jina tatu katika ofisi fulani. Was it the Nairobi County? Yeah. Someone had the same name had 3 different payrolls, or rather was appearing in 3 different payrolls of the county. So one, he's appearing as a cleaner. The other one yeni medical officer. Alafu I think yengine sijui ndiye alikuanga sijui director wapi. Mishahara mara ngapi? Mara 3. Jina ni moja.
I remember. I think she was a lady. Yeah, she was a lady working in 3 different government
departments.
Yes, 3 of them.
Shamba la wanyama
receiving good salary.
Yeye yuko nje kwa street na clean. Lakini kuna mtu anakula pesa ya daktari.
Kuna kwingine anaapia kama doctor, kwingine anaapia kama director, kwingine sijui anaapia kama nani. So like
it was Mr. Gibore who was giving us, George Gibore, the Secretary General of clinical officers.
Yes. Yeah. So we are talking of approximately 3,000 ghost workers having been collecting monthly salaries of 50,000 each month. So piga hesabu.
3,000 of them.
Yes.
Okay.
And there was some report last year about ghost workers, like ilionyesha kwamba State House huko ndio ghost workers ambao walikuwa wengi sana. There's a certain report I think I read last year about ghost workers, and they were pinpointing kule State House sana.
Ndio kuna ghost workers wengi?
Yeah, kulingana na hiyo report that is of last year.
Are you trying to say that State House is haunted?
No, I'm just saying as per the report, what it said sometimes last year. I think then I was still in Mombasa.
So I've just done quick mathematics on that figure you've given me. 50,000 shillings for 3,000 ghost workers.
Yes.
That is 150 million Kenya shillings monthly. Hiyo pesa inaendea watu wangapi? Mtu mmoja?
Inaendea 3,000 people.
No, so ulisema kuna 3,000 ghost workers.
Yes.
So who had organized these ghost workers? Because someone is benefiting from the ghost workers.
Of course. So you might find that tuko na wewe, kuna mimi niko na majina kama 10. Wewe uko na majina sijui. Yes.
That's half a million for you.
Salaries zake ni zangu. Hizo zingine ni zako, za mwingine za mwingine. So we make, we are talking of 3,000, yet we still have now nurses, doctors who are genuinely working as interns ambao wamekuwa wakililia walipwe mshahara. Na kuna wengine wako huku nje, they are still looking for employment.
Yeah.
And of course tuko na shortage ya health workers, of course, in our country, like you had say. Tuko na shortage. So why should we have 3,000?
Yes.
That's a lot.
Next story. Hizi zile zinakasirisha.
I think that's quite unfortunate. We had talked of this story of Chelsea. Tulishaongea mambo na Chelsea, wametupigia kelele sana jana. Streets zimekuwa zipitiki kwa sababu ya Chelsea kwamba walishinda.
Lakini watu wa Chelsea hawana kelele sana.
Nani wana kelele?
Watu wa Chelsea hawana kelele sana. There's a story here that has captured my attention. Let me just read it for you. Music festival echoes with sacred sounds. Students delivered rousing Christian set pieces, folk songs and traditional dances. The pieces offered lyrical reflection of God's divine grace, love and moral teachings. These are the things our children are learning when they go to school, which is a good thing. Yeah, it's about the pieces offered lyrical reflections on God's divine grace, love and moral teachings. Yeah. All right. Elders condemn Gachagwa's ethnic talk. This is in Kitale. Wanasema hawataki maneno ya Gachagwa kuongea juu ya Mlima, wanataka ongea about national issues. In Kisumu, Wandai Osoro defend Raila's legacy. That story is on page 2. And then TikToker freed cybercrime case stalls. So there's a TikToker that is Mr. Kakan Mayo presented himself at the DCI headquarters yesterday, accompanied by his lawyer Philip Mayo. This followed his release on a 10,000 shillings bail, or rather bond, after a dramatic arrest and a 2-day detention. Though expected to face charges of false publication and cyber harassment, a system failure stalled his arraignment. His lawyer termed the case baseless and politically driven, stating Kakan was arrested merely for expressing personal views online. Sasa someni hapo hivyo page 2, you will see what's going on. Chief trapped between grief duty after death of daughter in state hands. Hiyo tushawaambia kidogo. And actually people rioted in Nakuru over the death of that particular lady, Julia. They are demanding justice for her. So yesterday Nakuru was a bit rocked by some drama.
Yes.
New bill seeks to weed out rogues in growing digital currency sector. Molo MP said Kenya has approximately 6.1 million virtual asset services users, and Ichung'wa cautioned against the risk inherent in an unregulated environment. We can see the National Assembly Finance Committee Chairman Kimani Kuria during the commencement of public hearings on the Finance Bill of 2025 and the Virtual Assets Providers Bill of 2025 in Nairobi. So Virtual Assets Bill niyo mambo ya cryptocurrency. Protesters demand justice for woman who died in police custody. Tumesema hiyo already. Maduka yalifungwa kule Lakiki Estate in Nakuru, demanding justice for Julia Wangui Karaoke, also known as Joki, who died in hospital after allegedly being assaulted while in police custody.
Mongela,
Yes.
Matiang'i ameongea. I think the other day during Sabasaba protest, that day we had the speech from the former His Honorable Raila Odinga about the intergenerational conclave. Nayo Matiang'i ametokea na akasema kwamba let me read for you what he said about that. Anasema kwamba we already have a president, a deputy, governors, MPs, senators, county reps and administration. All systems needed to register public grievance. We don't need another forum, he argued. Responding to Laikipia East MP, Mwangi Kiunjuri claims that Dr. Ruto is courting him and others for the 2027 race. Matiang'i dismissed the notion kwamba is being courted by the president for the 2027 elections. And he said that if Ruto wants to talk, what new information would I tell him that Gen Zs hasn't already screamed?
Yeah.
We don't need a conclave to know that schools lack capitation or that health systems are crumbling.
Exactly. You don't need any kind of conversation or dialogue to just know what is happening in the country. Pick up any newspaper, any newspaper, you'll see what is going on in the country. They've already talked about school capitation.
Yes.
They're already complaining about the healthcare system.
Yes.
Here there's a story about clinical officers actually demanding action, and they've spoken about their strike,
Yes.
know. Yeah. So you do not need someone like Matiang'i to tell you where the problem is. Just pick up any newspaper,
Yeah.
open X, open Twitter, Instagram, open Facebook. Na utaona watu wakicomplain there
You'll
on a
see
daily
what
basis.
they are agitating for, right?
Yes.
So you don't have people to sit down. And I think that is a call that has been supported by even the church.
Right.
I know you are aware that the church is quite pushing for the talks, by the way. Nimona kanisa mingi. They are pushing for those talks, and of course we know the church has always been peaceful, and of course they would want that dialogue. But the question is,
Yes.
tumekuwa na a lot of dialogues in our country.
Tutaendelea kudialogue hadi lini? Na hilo ni swali tutauliza hapa rafiki yetu.
Yeah.
That is Advice Mundalo. He's the MD of Two Sense Leadership Institute. He's just joined us in studio. He's our guest for today in this particular hour and the next. And the conversation is around that particular national dialogue conversation. Is it a yay or a nay? We have the former Prime Minister Raila Odinga saying that we need to have a intergenerational conclave, whereby we sit down and we talk and discuss and see the way forward. So the question I will ask Mundalo as he introduces himself, or rather as he says good morning to Kenyans, is it a yay or a nay? Mundalo, good morning.
Morning.
How are you doing today?
Not bad, I'm fine.
Yes.
Yeah, we thank God.
Right.
Yeah.
Good thing that you're here. I can see you're very healthy.
Yeah.
Uko sawa.
Niko sawa kabisa.
Hujapatana na mashida kwa barabara kama last time.
No. Just people with sirens were too many.
Oh, really?
So we had to wait for them to pass.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Some dignitaries, VIPs were moving around.
Yes. Some top senior government officials, as we always call them.
Which road is that?
So we had to stop around State House, and around Modaiga.
Okay.
Were they heading into State House or out of State House?
No, out of State House.
Okay.
They are going to duty.
Ameenda kutufanyia kazi.
The only person who would be leaving State House at 7 a.m. would be the president.
Unfortunately, the issue with State House is we are meant to believe that only the president is usually at State House. State House has controllers of the control of State House. State House has people like sometimes the chief of staff who are there till late. So we have several people.
Oh, okay.
The president says over 300 people actually live in State House.
It's okay, fine. Yeah. I mean, we don't expect the president and his family and maybe bodyguards to only live in State House. But sirens out of State House, I thought that was only the president.
No, we have so many sirens movie in this country. Even heads of parastatals, CEOs, cabinet secretaries, PSs. Many people have used sirens.
Yes.
Of course, some of them illegally, because we also have our constitutional provisions on who exactly should actually be able to use a siren. But that's a question of another day. We have so many other people who use sirens around these towns. Even aides. Sometimes even aides would be with sirens around town.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. Let's get back to the conversation.
Yes.
Conclave requested by one Right Honorable former Prime Minister Raila Odinga.
Yeah.
What's your thought on that issue?
The intergenerational conclave. Someone said the Honorable Raila Odinga never runs out of adjectives and words to describe a problem.
Yes.
And I also saw that that proposal by the former Prime Minister, and I'm one of those few people who think that it's actually the way to go for only one reason, that there is no other way. Because when I look at it, yes, there is no hype around it, and many people don't feel like, and I've had this conversation of why another conversation. We just finished the NADCO, we had TJRC, we have had all these things. But then no one is giving the alternative, because in a situation where there is a crisis, there has never been a better thing to do than to have a conversation out of the crisis, regardless of how we end up looking at it, because grandstanding does not help anybody. Because the only when we don't want a conversation, then we want grandstanding. Now grandstanding does not help anybody. Now at the end of the day, no matter what you do with the grandstanding, for you to have what will be reasonable conclusion, you will end up at another conversation. So why not just begin with it from the beginning, instead of having ground standing, everybody holding on to an extreme end, and then at the end of the day, for us to move forward, we will still go back and again talk. There is no point at which you are going to avoid having this conversation. I think the wrong analogy we are having is the imagination that conversations means that Raila Odinga must be at the center stage. Because conversations can also mean that we can agree to talk and say that we do not want Raila Odinga at the center stage.
Right.
We can agree to say, you people, you led this conversation and this conversation, we are going to have this one, but without you. That would still be able to be a conversation.
Also a talk, yes.
It's also a conversation.
Yes.
A conversation can also be that what we are saying now and saying, we had NADCO and we had this and we had this. These things have not been implemented. Why? Those are also things we can only be able to share when we have a conversation. There is no way, I do not see any way out of that. No matter how traditional and popular and archaic the proposal seems to be,
right,
I haven't seen a better proposal on the table, unfortunately.
You know, this is my thought on what you've just said, that we need to have that conversation whether we like it or not. We cannot have, we cannot have people taking stands and saying no. Fine. What if these conversations that we're planning to have, just like the previous ones, are swept under the carpet? Tuongee, watu wakule pesa ya kuongea, sijui kuna kwanga na sitting allowances, or I don't know what they're given, maybe they're not giving anything, maybe utatuambia. So after we have this intergenerational conclave, and then nothing comes out of it, what next? Because I feel like Kenyans have gotten to a point whereby the conversations are too many. Hata kwa nyumba yako, if your partner, you're always complaining about the same thing over and over again, chances are you're going to divorce that woman. Or she's going to divorce you, depending on who started it. So until when are we going to have the conversation about the same thing?
Mbuvi, the reason why you have a conversation is because there has been a difficulty in having the solution. And most of the time is because we are reading from two different scripts. And most of the time is because no one is having a chance to look at things from the other person's perspective. That is why even, and the example you gave of even couples, that's why sometimes you go to a counselor.
Yes.
Because then this counselor helps you to both look at the issue from the other person's perspective. And then you're able to appreciate where the other person is coming from. So this conversation puts us in that situation whereby there has been this that has been said, but we think it's not been happening. But this other person also feels like there is this that they have been doing. So can we then be able to look at things from can everyone be able to step a moment into the other person's shoe? And can this conversation help us be able to divorce the politics out of it? Because then we'll also be able to discover that, wait a minute, when we thought it this way, this was actually pure politics. When this one thought it this way, it was also just pure politics. So we need a conversation of people who are honest about pushing the country forward. That's why the conversation should be very devoid and limited of people from the political class. Because when it's about the political class, it is not about what moves the country forward, it's what makes the biggest of the political gain out of it. And that's why when lack of conversation is working for you, you don't push for it. Because as it stands now, if there is animosity against government and you are an opposition leader, then that animosity is working for you. Because you need that animosity sustained up to the election. And that's why most of the opposition leaders are saying, no, we don't want a conversation, because it works against them politically. So let us be able to say, in this conversation, let us have people who have only the interests of the country at heart. And then the things that you've rightfully put, you've talked about allowances and this and that. That is also something we can also be able to only discuss when we have an opportunity to discuss and say, if this thing has to be honest, we're not going to have allowances. We're not going to have this. So that we're not going to have people staying in a hotel in Mombasa or in a hotel in Naivasha and collecting per diem for 30 days.
And using AI to come up with an article.
To come up with a report. And then there's also another question you asked rightfully, and you said, we've had these conversations over and over, and sometimes we haven't seen the results. So in that same conversation, we can be able to ask and say, first of all, before we start, give us the NADCO report. These were the recommendations. This one we need these implemented in 2 days. We need these implemented in 1 day, because some of these things can actually just be implemented. So within that framework, we can actually be able to get deliverables. The problem is when we keep running away from the framework altogether, because we'll be committing a second mistake, especially as the young people who have led the country to this point. Because there was a time, remember there was the first time after the June 25th last year, when the president said, why can't we have this conversation? And we ran away from the conversation. And when we did, political expediency took center stage, and then we became pawns in a game. And so the conversation was had somehow, but then we were out of it. Now, this is another opportunity again for us to be at the center stage of guiding the country to the right place. Now, if we again start this sentimentalism and populist ideology, then we again will be able to miss the bus the second time. And then we'll have no right to be able to say this did not happen the right way. We'll be able to be told, but where were you to put that suggestion on the table? So let us not be able to be fed into this thing of just being populist, saying, no, there is nothing, we don't want, we want grandstanding. Government knows what it should do. It is popular to say that.
Yes.
Unfortunately, everything works in leadership. And everything works in a plan. So let us not be able to miss the second bus of being part and parcel of the plan. Remember, the reason why the Mau Mau fighters up to today are crying about their issues is because they delayed to leave the forest.
They
overstayed in the forest.
They overstayed in the forest when independence.
That's an interesting analogy. But I want Patricia to ask you a question, and then I have another rejoinder to what you just said.
Yeah, because I'm not against us having that intergenerational conclave. I am not against. But now we have heard dialogues before, and that is the question that so many Kenyans outside there are having. Like, we have heard these dialogues before. There are some things that are straightforward, Mundalo. To be honest, like I see in the NADCO report, there is the issue of the cost of living. Kuna some recommendations that were made. People agreed on, like the issue of travel budgets that were supposed to be cut by 50%, daily allowances by 30%. Surely, do we need to go back again and start now saying again, now we are sitting here to discuss about the cost of life?
Unfortunately, yes. For this reason, whereas I agree with you in regard to these were the recommendations, and we feel this has not been able to be done, I do not see any other way that I can be able as a Kenyan, me as Mundalo, I don't see any other way apart from conversing on Generation Radio. I don't see any other way that then I create impact. Because just the same way you've put it, maybe you would tell me, how else, if it's not going to be a conversation, then how else will we be able to put leadership to task the same way you have? How can we be able to have an opportunity to ask that question? What creates this platform that we can be able to tell them, guys, you had these recommendations. Why are you putting us here again? And I feel like the only place we can have that question answered is in another dialogue. Unfortunately, again, let us also not paint a picture as though these conversations have always been useless. The reason why our country is as far as it is today, better than most of the countries, if not all of them within our region, is because we have had so many moments of having conversations. So many moments, and that's why our democratic principles are up to where we are today. That's why our constitution is not comparable to any within the region. So yes, we have had some pitfalls within those conversations, but then the issue is they have not been wholesomely unnecessary, because all those moments have created certain things within the republic. We might not have achieved it 100%, but there are some achievements that have been made. Sometimes even just the knowledge of the problem is also good enough. Just the way we have the TJRC report, and many of us keep quoting and saying, why can't we be able to implement this TJRC report? It's because there was a report, and then it has recommendations that we felt are very good, and some of them were not implemented. Now, if there was no TJRC, if they did not sit in the first place, we'd be having no report to agitate over. So nation building is a process. Nation building is not an event. The problem is we sometimes think nation building is an event. It's like the preparation of cornflakes that you just put in the milk and voila, the nation is here. Unfortunately, that's not the case. Nation building is a process. There will always be something that needs reaffirming. There will always be something that needs us to think again, and most of the time, what you think vis-a-vis what the other person thinks is not necessarily the same. Because whereas seated on this side, you would be thinking, this is something so easy to implement. Maybe when you get it from the other person's perspective, then you realize that, wait a minute, this implementation is not as easy as you would imagine. Because government also has its own government bureaucracy. Yeah, it has government bureaucracy. It has this must go through which channel and whatever. Anyone who has worked in government would be able to appreciate the realities of the bureaucracies in the government. And this is not to excuse anything that has not been implemented, but I'm just trying to say that we always have two sides of every coin. Right. So for us to be able to move forward, we must be able to first of all appreciate that reality. And the same example Mbovi gave when you talked about the situation in a house. Sometimes you sit back and then you realize, wait a minute, you have had grandstanding with your wife for a whole 3 months. Then when you just have a conversation, you realize the problem was socks. Then you're like, if I did not delay if we had just had this conversation earlier,
ningekuwa naacha socks mahali zinafaa kuachwa.
Exactly. All this time you've been imagining it's another thing.
Let me ask you something, because the things that the Kenyans that have been going to the streets have been agitating for are very simple. And some of them don't even need a dialogue. Fine, there's some that we will need to sit and have conversations about. But kuna zingine very simple. For example, mambo ya police brutality. Hiyo hatuhitaji any kind of dialogue, because just last week 31 Kenyans lost their lives over something that they first of all went to the streets over. Yeah, since last year when Rex Masai, I think he was the first victim that we knew of at the time. Since that time, the only thing Kenyans have been asking is, can you stop killing us? We're coming in peace. We just have flags, we have water, we have our IDs, nothing more. We honestly don't need a dialogue for that, and that is what is making Kenyans angry. You're asking them to come to sit at a table so that they can ask you to stop killing them, yet that is something that you should already be doing. Yes. Now, if we do decide to go to the table, first of all, where is this table? Number two, who is going to be at the table? How do we decide it's Mundalo? How do we decide it's Patricia? How do we decide it's Mbovi? You see, because is it going to be a national lottery where now ungoje KBC usikie kama jina yako itatajwa, usikie okay movie utahitajika KICC on such a date, come prepared to talk about ABCD issues. How are we going to decide who's going to be at the table? Because at the end of the day, there are some people who Kenyans don't want to see at the table, and that is the political elite, the so-called dynasties, the so-called, unajua wale watu wote wenye wa Kenya wame reject from the get-go. Those are the guys that people already have a problem with, and unfortunately those are the guys calling for dialogue. So how do we move forward?
I like your second bit of the question, Bovi, when you say who will be on this table.
Yes.
And the only way we can be able to have those conversations is to first of all agree with the idea. Once we have agreed that we'll have a dialogue, then we can be able to say, but we want it this way. Yeah? We want it this way, we want it this way, we want it this way. At the end of the day, Mbovi, everything rises and falls on leadership. Somebody has to lead the way. Yeah, and that's why I say I cannot fault Raila Odinga, because he's one of our leaders in the country and there is a crisis. And he, unlike everyone else who has chosen to cry with the problem and cry with the masses and offer no solution apart from just cry with us and continue being populist, he has given his idea. This is his proposal. We don't have a counter proposal from anyone else that we can be able to say, weigh the two and say, let's go this way and not this way. So we are working with one idea. We are working with one proposal that has not been forced down our throat. But then we have the opportunity to say, we will implement it this way and that way. It is, let us not be able to make Kenyans think that it is the reserve of somebody to sit and decide who will be on the table. No. We must be able to play a part, and we must be able now to say as ourselves, this is how we want it to go. Because again, if we delay on giving the framework of how we want the dialogue done, somebody will. And when that person does that, we'll again complain that it has not happened in our best interest. So at some point, we have to stop whining and start being part and parcel of the solution. Sit on the table. We must be able to say, now, as young people, this is the direction that we want. This conversation, want it this way and this way and this way. We do not want some certain people on the table. Yeah?
Okay.
Then that is how you start having this conversation. Remember how the Grand Coalition government was formed? We had representation from the Honorable Raila Odinga, and we had the Kibaki representation. Yeah? And with these ones who are saying, no, we won the election. And we don't want this. And we had these ones who are saying, but first of all, they had to sit first and discuss those issues on a table. And that's why we ended up with the Grand Coalition government, which up to today we credit to having been one of the most progressive governments that we ever had. It was a product of a conversation. So let us not be able, I keep saying, let's not miss the bus. And again, think that we can be able to keep whining, but not propose solutions. I like what you said about some of the issues being that Kenyans are talking about are very simple, like police brutality. And I perfectly agree. But then my question is, where do I have an opportunity to put this thing in the face of leadership and tell them and ask that question and ask the Inspector General, we talked about this. Why is it still happening? We talked about this in the NADCO report. We talked about this during the ODM UDA working agreement, the 10-point agenda. Why is it happening? It can only happen when I have the opportunity to be able to have this conversation. Remember, Mbuvi, that this police brutality that we are talking about, and not to underscore the point, but today we are in a situation in this country where a policeman has done something. We have an Inspector General of Deputy Inspector General of Police who is under investigation by IPOA. We have policemen. We have the OCS in custody. In custody. We have several policemen who are actually in custody. Now, that was not the case before. So we must be able to appreciate that we have moved certain steps. Now, how have we moved these steps? Is because we kept having these conversations. That's why today we have an independent police oversight authority. That's why today you have the Inspector General's office as an independent office within our constitution. there are certain gains that we have made. And because, again, I say nation building is a process, not an event. Once we have these, again, there are certain things that we'll be able to achieve. We'll be able to say, okay, fine. So because of these, now we can be able to create this and this and that. So all these things that we actually have today are gains that we have had courtesy of these conversations. Because when we just say, all we want is stop police brutality. And then, on the other hand, someone says, who exactly do you want to stop this police brutality? Most of you think the person to stop is the president. The president says the police is independent. Yeah? And that's what you're not getting. This police is independent. You're telling me all we are saying in this document, it's very simple. We are just saying want justice to the fallen heroes. And we think it's a very easy thing. When you have a conversation, we'll be told, no, wait a minute. All this is actually a judiciary mandate. Once the state and the executive and the police have been able to arrest, and they have been able to arrest and take to court, there is nothing much then they can do. For instance, I saw it on the news, and I'm sure you must have read it this morning or in the papers, that the Deputy Inspector General is supposed to resume office.
Yes.
He has actually.
He has actually resumed. Now, that would be able to anger someone at some point. But then, away from the anger, what are the legal facts? Now, once the courts have given him a clean bill of health and said they have no reason to continue holding him, the court says he can actually resume office. There's nothing the president can do. Now, when we start having that full understanding of things, we'll be able to see which is the way forward. But when we only understand our issues with the simplicity of them as problems, we don't then understand and appreciate the complexity of the solution.
Right.
And that's why I am saying, when we say dialogue is a tired ideology, is a tired proposal. The question is, which one is the alternative one that is not tired? And I have up to today, I haven't seen someone who has come up with an alternative one that we can actually compare. So we are only actually doing the same thing again. We are just bashing the proposal, bashing the proposer, bashing the ideology, but we're not giving solution. Remember, the country only moves forward because we put solutions on the table, not because we increased the volume of the whining.
Okay.
Well, I'm looking at it from the perspective of how about, yes, we've said yes to the national dialogue, right? Tumekubaliana kwamba tufanye national dialogue. That is quite okay. But now, Mngala has asked you about who are these who are supposed to sit in this dialogue. Then now I'll take you back to like when we did the first dialogues, like the latest. We are talking the latest is
the latest in the NADCO.
The NADCO.
Yeah.
Leave alone even the latest that the NADCO. There is also this one the ODM did with. That is also an agreement that first of all people need to look at it like what has been done, what has not been done.
Yeah.
So how about we look at it from the perspective of those who are concerned with the NADCO? Can they sit back again, first of all, before we reach to the national level? We have talked of police reforms. First of all, them as the stakeholders, them as the concerned party in that department, why can they first of all sit down and say, yes, we had these recommendations that you're supposed to do, we have not done. Where is the before they reach to the people, first of all?
I don't agree with the thought of thinking the NADCO representation represents the Kenyans. Because when young people and Kenyans went to the street, I haven't seen them agitate and say implement NADCO report. I haven't seen anyone raising placards and saying implement NADCO report.
But there is a commonality about the cost of living.
Yeah, there is commonality about certain issues in the NADCO report, and I do not disagree. But then, the NADCO report was seeking a political solution. The NADCO report and the NADCO sitting was a politically elitist grouping. And that's why it was chaired by Honorable Kalonzo Musyoka and Honorable Kimani Ichung'wah.
Wait a minute.
It does not then represent the commonality of the issues of the people as it is today. As it is today, Kenyans who have gone to the streets have not been led by any political leader. And therefore, it would not be proper for any political leader to want to purport to seek their solution. Therefore, for me, this should be something, and one of the conversations that has actually never happened, even despite the fact that we are saying we have had dialogue all this time. There's one type of dialogue that we've never had, a people-led dialogue.
Okay.
Now, we are in this crisis today because it's been led by the people. Now, can we for the first time have a people-led process where we are able to say now, we as the people, with the same magnitude that we were going to the streets with, can we now be able to say, now we want this conversation held this way? Civil society, the youth, the university student leaders, the people in the media. This is how we want the structure to look like. We have a media representation, we have a youth representation, we have a women representation, we have a civil society representation, we have people from all the northeastern and wherever those ring counties of the country, so that we are having a conversion of now people who are very far from the political class, so that we don't end up with having a conversation around the issues. Then in the report we see increase in the number of counties. Or increase in the number of constituencies, which will again be another political agenda. So we must reduce the politics in it and make it essentially people based. The thing that we haven't achieved much after the 25th of last year today is the fact that after the young people coming out in their numbers with clear-cut agenda, this failure to have concrete leadership in it created infiltration. And therefore, what went on from then became things that were very political. So then we started now having a situation where we have demonstrations, but they're not necessarily being led by the agenda of young people. They are now being led by political actors and civil society organizations. So some people are actually making money out of the demonstrations, and others are seeking political experience out of the demonstrations. And this was because there was a delay and a failure to create a leadership when the young people were at the helm. Now, this is another opportunity. And that's why I keep insisting that then young people need to now not miss this bus. Create a leadership, create a model operandi of how you want this thing done, and then we embark on it. The more we delay, the more again we'll be able to miss the bus, and again it will be taken over by the political elite, who will again sit down and then create political solutions. How do you know that your thing has started being taken over? Yesterday I saw the former deputy president saying that he is calling for the young people now not to go to the street. And to me, that was very dangerous, because that simply meant that he's trying to own up the leadership of the people going to the street. Now he is purporting to have the monopoly of being the person who can now call them on and off street. Yeah. So again, you see the complaint that the young people have been having about Honorable Raila Odinga and saying, we are the ones who went there, but you took over and purported to be our leader. Now there is another new leader now, who is now also purporting to be your leader. He has now said, now he has told you to hold, don't go to the street. So the reason we are not on the street today would be assumed to be because of Rigathi Gachagua. He told the young people not to go to the streets. So that is the danger when there is a vacuum. Remember, leadership abhors a vacuum. Somehow something will always take that mantle. And as it stands today, all the way from I don't know how many kilometers away in the United States, a leader of the Gen Z revolution is being born in the name of Honorable Rigathi Gachagua. And he's now telling us he's the one who now has the mandate to tell us go to the street and don't go to the street.
Wait, I want to take you back kidogo kwa the NADCO report. I remember when when that committee was being put together, they said that they were to look into the issues of the Mwananchi first of all. Do you remember?
Yeah.
Actually, the reason why people were on the streets, ilikuwa ni they were saying that the cost of living.
Yes.
That was the biggest issue. But we saw when they went and sat down, the cost of living was ndio wale walikuwa kule chini. It was ndo zile za chini kabisa. It wasn't given that the priority that it was supposed to be given. So tukaanza na mambo na chama, tukaanza na mambo na IEBC positions and so forth. Then cost of living ikakuja pale chini ni kama I think they discussed as a AOB actually. Yeah. So now I'm looking at whatever we are pushing for, that conclave, and then we have people coming on board and others, like you're saying, taking advantage and putting the what we are agitating for as the last thing, ama AOB.
Yeah, that will again happen. And it will happen when we again, I keep insisting on the point of, it will again happen when we miss the bus and then the wrong people take center stage of the conversation. Because when the political elite take center stage of the conversation, they discuss their matters. and their matters will not necessarily be our matters. And then we cannot complain later when that conversation goes one direction. It is, for instance, even if this conclave is to be set up and we take Mbuvi, yourself, and other journalists to comprise it, we will end up with a report that favors journalism.
Sure.
We will end up with a report that favors communication. We will end up with a report that will tell us about how the communication authority should operate.
Yeah, you
We will
teach
end
us.
up with a report that will tell us about how journalists should not be harassed during demonstrations.
Sure.
In fact, they should be fed breakfast, lunch, supper during every time. Why? And you cannot be able, no one should be able to fault you for that, because you would be promoting your agenda, because that is your forte. This is journalists who are now attributing to this. That is the same thing that will happen when you put the political class to be on the table to represent your issues. They will be able to pull towards their direction. If you say you are going to again sit back, forget about it, and then you have civil society lead the conversation, we'll end up with a report that is purely activist. Because that is what they know how to do best. It's purely activist. They will tell us now when demonstrations should be gazetted. They should. We now don't need to even seek a right to the Inspector General. Yeah, the report will tell us on the day that any Kenyan wakes up and feels like demonstrating, they do not need a reason.
It is their right.
It is just their right. Just take to the street, and in fact, the police should follow them up to ensure they are protecting them. You see, it will be as if it will be an activist resolution.
Right.
That's why I'm saying that for us to have the solution that we deem fit, then we must be on the table. And for us to be on the table, we must start saying, this is how we want it to be done. This is how we want the conversation done. Remember, the Prime Minister Raila Odinga proposed a conclave. His proposal does not necessarily mean he must lead the team doing that. It only means that he has said, can we guys have a conversation? We can even change the name and say we don't want it to be called a conclave, because it swears in the Pope.
Let me just ask you a question here. You know, it's like Bibi na Bwana. Again, let me use that example.
I think you're more familiar with those issues.
Yes. Very, you're right. Now, Bibi na Bwana, kama I want to have a conversation with my wife, but I'm a very violent husband. There's no way, there's no day my wife will sit in the same room with me, because whenever I get angry, the first thing I think of is punching her.
Yes.
So here's a situation whereby our husband as Kenyans is punching us on a daily. Every time we want to go and meet him, anatutandika viboko, wengine wetu tunashutiwa. How then are we going to have a sit down with this particular gentleman? It is the gentleman to first of all calm down, assures us that he's sober, he's come to the table, he has left his guns behind, his viboko ziko nyuma, tumeketi vizuri na anze kutuita babe, so that we can sit down with him and we can open up without fear. Because as it is right now, we will speak from the shadows on Facebook, Twitter, and wherever. That's where we are comfortable, because that's far enough. He's unable to reach us, depending, because let's not forget, there are people who've spoken up on the same social media and have ended up dead or disappeared. We have no idea where they are. So if Gava wants to have a conversation with Kenyans, fine, it's a great idea, but we want for them to chomoa their gloves and put their clubs down and the guns, then we can come to a conversation. Then number two, I still haven't understood how we shall have a conversation. Who is going to be there? You've mentioned civil society. You've mentioned journalists. I'm sure we can talk about jua kali sector. Mama mboga, watu wa bodaboda, na wale wengine wote ambao tuna consider ni wanajenga hii dunia, hii Kenya yetu. How are we going to decide, if it's mama mbogas for example, which mama mboga to choose? Because you might end up, if you're coming to, if it's journalists for example, and you choose Mungala Mbuvi, maybe other journalists will be like, apana, but Mbuvi's first degree is in biotechnology. He's not even a real journalist. Why is he in that conversation? Wacha aende kwa conversation ya biotechnologists. If you take Patricia, watasema apana, but why yours first degree is in finance? Wacha aende akaongee kwa mambo ya watu wa finance. You see, so how are we going to decide who is going to be there, who is not, and who's not going to be there? Because I'm sure everyone wants to be there.
Very, very true and rightfully put, Mbuvi. I think in my answer, let me first of all start with the analogy of the family. And
this husband who's battering us.
The husband is battering the wife.
Yes.
So how is he going to have this conversation? first thing first is, in this particular context, it is neither the husband nor the wife asking for the conversation. The same way, when I'm talking about the government has not asked for a conversation. I don't know why we are assuming that it's government, because it's the
broad-based government.
This is Raila Odinga. Yeah,
broad-based government.
But since where?
Someone has called him a co-president. But anyway, proceed.
You see, because I keep insisting on things must, like, for us to get the solution, we must be devoid of what happens on social media and what creates makes us happy, and then look at what is the law and what are the structures. And according to the law and the structure,
as a matter of fact, I've just remembered, we need to go to the news. But you've talked about law and structure. We shall pick it up from there. So when we return, of course, we shall be looking at some of your feedback. If you are tuned in, find us on rgk.co.ke. We are with Advice Mundalo. He is the MD of 2 Cents Leadership, right?
Yeah.
So we shall be having this conversation right here, bright and early, in the next couple of minutes, rather. So don't go too far. We'll be right back.
It's 8 o'clock.
Radio generation, the sound is fine. Pump it up, turn it high all the time. Let the music move you, let's sway. Radio G's got your jam all day.
Radio Generation, the home of urban soul. This is the Radio Generation News.
Good morning, I'm Winnie Maganga. The National Police Service says no formal misconduct complaint has been recorded yet in the death of a woman arrested during last week's Saba Saba protest in Nanyuki. An alleged torture by officers while in custody. 24-year-old Julia Njoki was arrested while heading home on the evening of July 7th alongside protesters and taken to Nanyuki police station where she spent the night. According to police, Njoki was among 126 protesters arrested following the Saba Saba protest in Nanyuki town and were charged in court. Nyaga further noted that all suspects pleaded not guilty to the charges and were remanded to Nanyuki prison or pay a cash bail of 50,000 shillings each. Police, however, say they are looking into the death of the youngster. Kenyans will now dig deeper into their pockets to fuel their vehicles and homes after the Energy and Petroleum Regulatory Authority announced a sharp increase in fuel prices, with petrol, diesel and kerosene rising by nearly 9 shillings per litre. This latest adjustment comes as a result of global shipping disruptions triggered by security concerns along major maritime oil routes. Following April's latest review, the price of a litre of petrol in Nairobi has gone up by 8.99 shillings. Meanwhile, diesel has increased by 8.67 to 171.58 shillings, while kerosene now costs 156.58 per litre, up to 9.65 shillings. A section of Machakos leaders have called Kenyans to rally behind the newly sworn-in IBC commissioners. They hailed a move by President William Ruto to gazette the new electoral chiefs, paving way for polls preparation. They also called on Kenyans not to take to the courts to stop the work of the IBC, citing the lengthy process that went into the installation of the new team into office.
Nafasi hii ambayo sasa imepatikana ni wale watu ambao wako na mazoea kwenda kotini. Tafadhalini wachaneni na hiyo tabia, kwa sababu sisi wote ni Wakenya, sisi wote tuna haki zetu, na hili ambalo tunajitayarishia sasa ni kuona uchaguzi wa 2027 ukiendeshwa na commission ambayo imeteuliwa kwa njia inayostahili na ambao wanahudumia mwananchi bila mapendeleo na bila kuwa interfered with.
The National Authority for Campaign Against Alcohol and Drug Abuse is set to raise Kenya's legal drinking age from 18 to 21. This is in a major policy shift aimed at curbing rising alcohol and drug abuse among young people. The proposed change is part of the 2025 National Policy on Alcohol, Drugs and Substance Abuse, approved by the cabinet on June 24th. The new policy introduced wide-ranging reforms that tighten access, control advertising, and restrict distribution channels. President Donald Trump on Monday confirmed that the U.S. has agreed to sell arms to NATO. This came moments after he said Russian President Vladimir Putin has 50 days to secure a peace deal with Ukraine or face 100% tariffs. NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte said Trump called on Thursday to confirm that he wanted to enter into a deal with NATO allies to sell their arms for aid to Ukraine. Trump said billions of dollars worth of U.S. arms will be purchased from allies like Germany, Finland, and Denmark that will be quickly distributed to Ukraine.
One of the reasons that you're here today is to hear that we are very unhappy, I am, with Russia, but we'll discuss that maybe a different day. But we're very, very unhappy with them, and we're going to be doing very severe tariffs if we don't have a deal in 50 days. Tariffs at about 100%. You'd call them secondary tariffs. You know what that means. But today we're going to talk about something else. And as you know, we've spent $350 billion approximately on this war with Russia and Ukraine, and would like to see it end. It wasn't my war, it was Biden's war.
And that's the truth on Radio Generation. Good morning, Winnie Maganga.
In the beginning, there was morning radio. But now there is Radio Generations, the People's Breakfast. Curious and bold, getting facts from the shadows.
That's what it is.
Now, as the city wakes and secrets stir, a bright new voice shines. The People's Breakfast. Your morning, your voice, your journey. Good morning.
Good morning, my neighbor.
Welcome to the home of hard truths and bold insights. Radio Generation.
All right, a very good morning to you. Welcome to the People's Breakfast. It is right now, 6 minutes past the hour. My name is Mungana Mbuvi.
My name is Trisha Wayua. Remember, this is the People's Breakfast, the home of hard truth and bold insights.
We were just having a conversation in the last hour with Advice Mundalo about this whole issue of national dialogue and the conclave that Right Honorable former Prime Minister was asking for. And he was elaborating on some points. But in the middle of our conversation, we had to cut him short to cut to the news. But now we've been joined by Kileleshwa MCA, that is none other than Mheshimiwa Robert Alai. Good morning, sir. Welcome to the studio.
Good morning.
This is the first time we're having this conversation in this studio, and we're very privileged to have you here because I'm sure, being an insider at ODM, you're probably privy to some of these things. But I will let Mundalo finish his sentence so that we can have you join in. So Mundalo, you were just talking about was it the formula we shall use of having these people into that particular dialogue?
Yeah, and actually I was just telling you about your analogy, and you had said that when a husband has a problem with a wife and the husband is very violent,
yes,
he cannot be the one calling for the dialogue. And I was just correcting you and saying that in this particular context, government has not asked for dialogue. That's so the analogy does not suffice, because in that same context then it would be able to maybe say the father of the wife or the father of the husband is the one who has asked for dialogue, because the person who has given this proposal is Honorable Raila Odinga, who is not government. So but then we come now to the conversation about how do we constitute the people that then go to this dialogue. And you're asking me, everyone would want to be on the table. How will that be able to be done? And I was just telling you that we must be able to start with the various representations. And when we do not when we are not keen on who represents us on the table will still be constituted anyway, and then our issues will not be canvassed anyway, and then we'll again complain that our issues were not discussed. So the question about how the table is constituted and who is on the table, every industry has its own formula and its leadership. The journalists have a way they are regulated, they have a way they are represented. And you had elections just the other day. You have a president of the journalists who can actually be able to be part and parcel of the conversation. When you look at, for instance, at the civil society. The civil society also has its leadership, it has representation. When you look at the youth sector, we have youth leadership in different formats. We have youth leadership in political parties, we have youth leadership in civil society, you have student leaders in the various universities. So that is also ways in which there is representation. So there is no problem in how to constitute who sits at the table. There is definitely a formula to put people on the table. And when someone has an issue with who is then on the table, then you can canvass it within your sector. For instance, if you are a journalist and you think your president is the wrong person to represent you, you can canvass it at that level. That way we can be able to then have who sits on the table. The only thing we are supposed to be very keen on is to ensure that that table has people who will have the biggest interests of the young people and the Kenyans at heart. And when we do not push to ensure that we have that caliber of people, we miss the bus. And then we have the political elite who will then sit on the table. And then they will discuss political interests. And then the report of the intergenerational conclave will again be a fully political report. And then we'll come back and start complaining that they only favored themselves. But then the issue will be that we failed to be on the table. The same way we missed the bus on 25th of last year when the president said, why can't we have this conversation? And you said that this husband, in your analogy, that this husband is very brutal and he cannot have this conversation. I don't think the analogy works in the event and context of the president. Why? Because at a time when we had the biggest crisis, at that time, it is the president actually who sought and who extended the hand and said, why can't we have a conversation? It is we, the young people, and the Kenyans who refused the invitation. And even when he came to the Twitter space, we spent most of the time not articulating the issues but insulting the president. Now that does not create an agenda. It makes us popular, it gives us likes, it gives us views, but then it's not an agenda. So at the end of the day, I have seen instances where the president has tried to extend an olive branch to say, why can't we have a conversation? Actually, I haven't seen a president who meets people as more times and more often than President William Ruto, because I see him going to every place he goes. The first thing he does is to meet the leadership. And I'm sure Mheshimiwa Lai will be able to actually confirm this. Because every place I see people from Machakos, we see it every other time on the social media of people canvassing and having these conversations. So it is it is not difficult how to put people on the table. What is going to make or break this deal is when we, the young people and the people who are most interested and the ones who have been going to the street, miss the bus, concentrate on populist politics, concentrate on just being bashing and social media likes, and then at the end of the day the conversation will still happen, and then it will happen without us, and then we'll again complain, and then do something else next year. At the end of the day, it becomes a vicious circle that has no solution. So when there's a proposal of a conversation, my idea is
we jump on it.
We jump on it and say how we want it done.
Honorable Alai,
yes.
Mheshimiwa Raila asked for intergenerational conclave to have a conversation. I don't know, maybe you can help us understand what he meant by that.
Thank you so much for having me here for the first time. Very nice setup here.
Karibu sana.
Conversation is interesting. I think what my party leader was trying to tell Kenyans is that we need to realize that for every achievement we've had in this country is as a result of people sitting down and having a give and take. You have your ideas. They might not be superior to everybody's idea, but we're willing to listen to them. And we have very many people, stakeholders, we have the religious fraternities, the politicians, the people calling themselves the Gen Zs,
businessmen,
the businessmen, the business community, the media, the fourth estate is a very special kind of, the fourth estate also, now you have the fifth estate with the social media community, digital community. I think this is what we have always proposed. Let's have a conversation. And we proposed it during BBI, that if we stop talking, we start fighting. The moment people don't realize that, I think what my party leader was trying to do is to give you a new name for the same thing he's insisting on. Because when he insists on the same thing, people say that you have no new idea. So sometimes you give it a new name. Last year he called it a conversation. This year is called it a conclave. The other time BBI, I think different name. You know, but it's the same thing. When we were trying to try to see if we can work with the UDA to stabilize the broad-based thing, we went around. He went around and said that whatever people call it, whatever name people gave it, it was a conversation. So let's have a conversation. And you know, people need to realize, especially the young people, you know, because I really see where they're heading to. And at some point, I was in the space of chanting slogans, you know, likes, trending things, and you see it's very easy.
You're still there, Robert.
You know, and we still, you know, I tell you this because I've been in the space of the digital community, and now I've been elected. And there's a reality which strikes you the moment you get elected. You see a different kind of Kenya, where what you think is popular might not be very popular. You have a kind of community, you know, you see now people are saying that Ruto is going to be one term. But when you're a real politician, when you go to the real politics on the ground, you talk to now the people whom you know are mobilizers. If today I'm in Dagoretti North, and it's a very good thing that you have this setup in Dagoretti North. In this space, in Kilimani today, if you want to get voted in Kilimani,
right,
if you start walking in these houses, you'll not get elected. You'll not get elected. Nobody here will vote for you. You'll find you have 2,000 voters in Charwimoyo, you have another 1,000 in Ruai, you see, you have 500 in Mlolongo, you see. And these people come here because even the people who are living in these houses, some of them vote in Northeastern, some of them vote in Nyanza, some of them vote in, you know, different places.
Yeah. Right.
And when you talk to the people who have interest in Kilimani, some of them are watchmen who only come here to work and go back there. So they live in a different place. They live in Wanye, they live in Dagoretti South,
right,
but they come and vote here. When you claim that today you are going to change Nairobi, but you have not known where the votes come from, you tend to live in an echo chamber which only fits your ego, you know. So then what is happening now? Because you see, regarding Gachagua, like my friend here was trying to tell you that regarding Gachagua is trying to own this community, and he's not starting to own it today. From last year, you know, the moment he went to Mombasa, and you know, the young men were rising, and he became the statesman. The president was not looking very well prepared for the moment, and he took the limelight from him.
Okay.
And since then, he's been rising. His popularity has been rising. Even the time he was removed, then he was still part of the system, but even after that, now he became more popular. Now, what you're going to have here is the cult of personalities. People are going to say, you are either with Rigathi, because he's going to force people in that corner. Even if you don't like him,
right,
people are going to say that we don't like Ruto, so we are going for Rigathi. But what does Rigathi stand for? You don't like Ruto, you're going to go with Rigathi. Are you checking on this person? Are you profiling and knowing who is this leader? What does he stand for? If he takes the leadership today and you have the command of the military and the systems of the state, what is he going to do with them?
Okay.
You see, the cult of personality is very dangerous in this country. There are two very dangerous schemes which we use all the time as politicians: the cult of personalities and the balance of terror. The balance of terror comes during violence. You see what happened in Nairobi the last time. You threatened the president. It's the balance of terror. Anachora usiingie CBD. Ukicross utakufa ama utaumizwa. You see? Wewe pia umesema kwamba wewe pia usikuje pande yetu huko kwa slums or whatever place we have the control. And the moment you cross, and that's why you had during the balance of terror in Kibra and in Madare, right, there's a community which were not able to collect their rent from certain parts because it was two ethnic communities. Either uko side ama uko side. So kama uko side, usivuke ile side. So if your properties are on the other side, you have to depend on the goodwill of your tenants to say kamba mimi nitatuma rent, even whether you cross or you don't cross. But some decide, a good majority, because Kenyans like shortcut to anything, they say mimi sitatuma rent. So there's a tragedy of these young people, a very nice movement, for the the reawakening. I've said, and I think you people, the community, the journalists and the netizens were part of it when we were saying that after coming from digital community to the Kenyan politics now, especially the capital city, and seeing that, the capital city, I found very unfortunate situation that the most important seat is not very important to the middle class, which need it most, the governor and the MCA.
Okay.
So Nairobi is run by a very rogue system which doesn't serve your interest. It's basically cutting deals, and so I say that why don't we tell the middle class, get into the political conversations, and we are on digital platforms, you're on radio stations like these ones, and trying to convince people that get into the conversations. Stop telling me that you're an IT person, that you can't, that politics is dirty. Get into because if you get bad food in your market,
yes,
in your supermarket shelves, it is because the MC and the governor is not doing proper checks on farm to fork. Because
so if we are to agree, Kenyans were to agree, of course, and they say we want to have this dialogue. Fine, you have given us the pros and the cons, and we are thinking, let's do it. How then do we get these people to this table? Because again, just like Mundalo was mentioning before you came in, there's like a formula for choosing these people. I mean, he was proposing rather a formula that we can use. But how big is this table that we can accommodate all these individuals?
Yeah.
And how are we going to ensure that once we have, even if it's 100 of us in that on that table, that every voice is heard and it makes sense, and at the end of the day we shall have a document or a proposal that we all agree to.
The biggest enemy to this dialogue is the fact of leaderless, partyless,
tribeless.
You have to choose a platform, you have to choose a vehicle. And even the civil society in itself might not be a political party, but it's a party, because a party is an entity. You see? So when you have an entity you're coming with there, if you have the Editors Guild, you have the Kawaida journalists, as the Journalists Union, KUJ, and the Editors Guild is coming in for the, and then they have the media owners, then you can decide either we come as a whole team, media fraternity, or every stakeholder from those. Then you have the religious communities. Then the religious communities, you have Protestants, you have Catholics, you have the Muslims, you have the Hindus, The minorities would say that, for the first time. Then there's a new one here, which even everyone might not want, the atheist. Then you'll find the Muslim and the Hindus and the Christians might not say that, no, lakini sisi tunaamini Mungu. Huyu anakuja kufanya nini kwa hii room? Tunataka kuongea na watu wenye wanapenda Mungu. You have a challenge there. What people have to agree with is that the table might not accommodate everyone. So can we find a very representative way of saying that these are religious leaders? Or we say that for you to meet like in parliament we say that for you to have a parliamentary party, you must have garnered, that's what the law says, you must have garnered 5% of the parliamentary seats. You see, for a parliamentary party. So kama kuna tu na mtu moja, hiyo sio parliamentary party. We cannot. So when you have enough skin in the game, then you can say that now you can sit on the table because you are a serious community. But the young people, when they say that they're partyless, that is their greatest enemy. Have a platform, even if it's not a political party. Say that you are coming because it was a tragedy I saw last year when they're doing a very nice thing. They're, a platform they have risen. Then they organize a music concert. Then none of the people on that platform was below 40 years. Then I said, who are these Gen Zs at Uhuru Park? You see these performers, and I said, tell me who from the generation of Gen Z was performing there or was part of the organizations there. Even today, when they're talking of Gen Zs, they say that they're leaderless, but they're being led. They're being led unwillingly or willingly, because this movement of Gen Zs was a result of some conversations which politicians were having, and they saw an opportunity to skooma these young people to the forefront. And it's not the first time. Tom Boya became a cabinet minister. Is what, late 20s, early 30s. By the time he was getting to 35, he was very impactful in the society.
All right.
James Orengo, the young Turks of the Moi regime, the people accused of Mwakenya and so on. This is not the first time. When we were getting into the 202, I met a very nice PS who later died, unfortunately, PS Murugu. And we had a very nice, one-on-one conversation with him. And he told us that, if we ignore, I think he was the PS for Youth Affairs and something, and he told us that if we ignore the issues of the young people, we can have a situation where 10,000 young people storm KICC and push that building You know, he was giving the analogy that these guys, young people can enter KICC today and skuma that building and it falls down and you don't understand how that bill tipped.
Yeah.
You see, he was just telling us these people have too much powers. So that one was 202, 203. You see, and 202, 203 up to now is 20-something years. These young people who are being talked to, like us, are now past the youth age.
Right.
You see, so we need to realize at the young people that you also Gen Z yako has expiry date. Some of you are expiring in 1 year, some in 5 years, some in 10 years. In 1 year, it will be expiring before the next election. But some will expire after election. So you have a chance to influence. You still claim to be Gen Z, but influence the next election on the platform of Gen Z. Can you seize the moment? If you don't seize the moment, us politicians will use you.
Okay. Mweshua, I think
I like you saying as politicians. He has made it very clear.
Yes, and again, by the way, let me look at it, the Gen Zs, from the perspective of ideology.
Yes.
It is just an ideology because in that group you're finding there are millennials. Yeah, just these are people just with that common.
Even
thing
us
we are
Gen
pushing.
Xers were.
You are also a Gen Z. If you have that ideology, like there's something this you're pushing.
Baba always
for the
say,
government.
Baba Raila Amolo Odinga always say,
Yes.
you can be 90-year-old, but have the mindset of a 20-year-old. There's some old people who are very transformative. So not every young people there is transformative.
Yeah. So I was looking at this conversation, like if we are to have that conclave, and we have seen before conversations, we have seen people sit down, dialogues, but then now, what are those key things that need to be discussed in those? Because we know these dialogues most of the time we go with this thing that we are pushing, but tukifika pale we start looking at other things. Like what are these things you think that now if we decide we're going to have this conclave, we are supposed to discuss?
No, I think you know, because I'm not the initiator of this. What the idea I support is the idea of having a conversation, because my thought was that Kenya had a challenge of issues of cost of living. You know, issues of political representation. They think that they are overrepresented or things like that. Issues of ethnicities, or generational issues. You know, I think those. But I'm not in a Gen Z. I want to hear their issues, because for the first time, I think that in the office, this is not the president we voted for, and we told you that this is going to be the worst president. But now, the people who proposed him to be the president, when we went to the street in 2023, we were seeing bad things happening, and we are saying that tafadhalini, let's rectify this thing before it goes bad. In Kibra behind us here, in Kawangware, I think we lost vehicles. I think journalists lost equipment. For the first time, the direct impact on the vehicle carrying Honorable Raila Odinga was shot 13 times. In fact, even Sazingine, you see Baba going back and forth, is because he remembers what happened to him. And remember, he was left. And remember, the journalists, the media community, which is now very much acting against the president, left him, despite them being one of the losers, the biggest losers. You know, when we saw in war, you don't target journalists. In war, we were not at war, but in war, you don't target journalists. But these people targeted journalists in peace, in a political protest, in a very peaceful one. They target journalists, and we say that if they can target journalists, in that assembly, we have 124 members. Out of those 124 members, we are the majority as Azimio. None of the Azimio leaders could step into Nairobi City County Assembly, because the DCI took over that assembly, were handing them. The moment you step in front of that assembly or inside it, you're kidnapped. Nobody ever talked about kidnaps. The person who was commanding that kidnap is the person who is crying most about kidnap today. And Rigathi Gachagua. He was waking up at 3 a.m. every day, going to the office by 4, and ensuring that nataka kuhakikisha that for the last time Baba story Nyandarua akamwambia kwamba huyu mtu mnaita Ruto, I know him better than you. When worse comes worse, he will come and humble himself before me, because none of you here understand what you are doing better. I am fighting for your interest. Mtalia, and they ignore. You see, now People don't remember that these conversations were happening. It was painful. Since Kibaki reneged on his promises after the rainbow came to government, we have been losing young people. We've been losing young people very badly, and especially the core base of ODM. And this core base of ODM has been losing a lot of young people. And even remember the PEV happened. The PEV happened. ODM lost most people than everybody. But it was the entity which was never compensated. You remember where the compensations went. In fact, even today, there are some people claiming to be IDPs. We have never claimed, and we are saying that it is not, don't want to be selfish. If you decide to compensate your people and ignore our people, well and good. But remember that we need to sit down and have these conversations in an environment where people understand that this country you have to give and take.
All right. Mundalo, I want you to join this conversation in this way.
Yeah.
We have seen certain quarters, certain politicians saying that come 2027, no matter what happens, President Ruto has to, be re-elected, even if they have to take that ballot by force. That means even if they have to steal. And yet, there's a section here that is within the same government, or at least they are friends of the government in the name of ODM, through former Prime Minister Raila Odinga, saying that we need to have an intergenerational conversation. How can we have these conversations? Young people are complaining about ABCD, and the same ABCD is still happening to them. Let's not forget abductions. Let's not forget corruption. Let's not forget unemployment and other things that are within, the control of government. Yet there are some people who are just adding salt to the injury, saying that no matter what happens, President Ruto will still come back to power. So it's either mukubali saizi ama mutulie. You understand?
Yeah.
How are we able to move forward when all these things are happening?
First of all, Mbuvi, it is extremely unfortunate that we'll be having leaders speaking in that manner. I am more perturbed about it because the particular leader who talked about the potential of rigging is a young legislator. I think she's the women rep for, is it Wajir? Wajir, yeah? Because it's more unfortunate because one, she's young, and two, she's a woman. We are supposed to be the generation that represents transformation. And now it goes back to what Alai was saying, that not every young person is transformative, and not every old person is retrogressive.
Right.
Because you see, that kind of talk is actually coming out of young people. And actually, most of even the people that you'll allude those statements to are not necessarily the older folk. They're actually the younger people. So it actually shows you the reality of our politic. And there's something very fundamental that Robert talked about. And he said, when you get elected, you sometimes get an understanding of the issues far more differently than how you were. Because I have run for election before, and I'm still running for election. And one of the things that I can assure you politicians like Robert and others grapple with is the interaction with the movies of this world, the middle class elite, and the people. Sometimes, whereas you seated in this studio, you think you really represent the people, the understanding of the issues of the people when you talk to them directly is extremely different. That's why sometimes when you seated at a higher pedestal, you keep thinking politicians are mad people. Because what they do vis-a-vis what you think they should do is extremely different. But what should show you that maybe you are the mad one is that they get re-elected. So what you thought was mad actually was working at some point. So what we need to start with moving,
right,
is first we need to contextualize our issues. When we get context, we get reality. These statements being said today are unfortunate. That is true. But have they been said before?
They have been said.
They have been said before. What was the context why they were said before? It was again a community protecting its head of state. Again saying, we will be able to do this and we'll be able to do that. Now, for us to seek the solution, then we must understand context in its reality. When we do not understand context in its reality and only bash the community, we get it wrong. Because then tomorrow, my community will also have a president and will say the same thing. And at that time, it will be again more convenient for everyone to bash us as a community.
Right.
So let us get context right. Once we get context right, we'll be able to understand that let us be able to deal with Kenyan issues for Kenyan issues. Let all of us climb down and become reasonable and stop climb down from our communities, where we come from, and all that, and understand that when push comes to shove and the country has an issue, all of us will be affected one way or the other. So let us then discuss how do we solve the problem. Because last year, not last year per se, during the Azimio campaigns, and after we finished the campaigns, and I was in the Azimio campaigns, and we went to the streets. And even before that, we were going to the streets as ODM. That time I was in ODM. And all the time, the conversation around those who didn't go to the street, even when people died, people wanted to say, you are the reason why the people are dying. Why can't you just stop the protest? You remember? Now, when the shoe is on the other leg, it is more likely that now the people also from ODM would want to also climb down the reasoning and also say, but why can't you also just stop the protest? So at the end of the day, it's convenient reasoning depending on where you are and who you serve and whether it serves your interests or not. Robert is saying that at some point they used to go to the county assembly and they cannot be able to access the assembly because certain characters were in power and they were limiting them. Yeah. Now today, probably that is still happening, but now to the people from the other shoe.
Right.
So the issue is this: we must be able to start first of all by understanding that these are Kenyan problems, and that's why I keep insisting that when we go to that table of conversation, let us have people who are willing to discuss the Kenyan problem as the Kenyan problem, not community problems. Let us not be able to have people who are going to that table to protect their own political interests. Let us not have people who are going to that table to with instructions from outside people, some leaders who are outside telling them you must pull this direction. I told you, if we are not careful, we'll end up with a table to discuss Kenyan issues. Then we'll come out of the conversation with a report with addition of constituencies and addition of counties to one direction of Kenya. Why? Because we did not have objective people on the table. So let us first of all start with, first of all, we as Kenyans, let us be objective. Let us not be able to make others feel lesser of a people than others. Because when you ask these people, that's why you saw, I think somebody again said we will do an audit of this country since independence. You see now where we are going. When we start going that direction, it's a very dangerous direction. Because everyone will keep saying, okay, fine, the deaths that have happened now, not, without undermining them. Somebody else will also say, you know what, we lost Baby Pendo in Kisumu. We lost this and this. Why wasn't this as high an issue as it is today? But if you want to avoid going into that blame game, that does not happen, because it doesn't help anybody. It only annoys everybody the more. So we must start by, first of all, let us be objective and discuss the Kenyan problem for what it is, not for political expediency. Just because you have an issue with the government does not make the other person better. When you have an issue with the government of President William Ruto, it doesn't make Rigathi Gachagua a good person. You must be able to audit everyone for who they are. I have an issue with government for these particular issues, but we were talking about that last time I was here. And we're saying, let us discuss the problems of this government in issue form and be able to say, we have a problem with this, and this. It cannot just be wholesome. We can't just say, we come from Clarity, a lie must go. Okay, go why? Let us be able to say, this is what he has done, this is what he has not done, this is what he needs to do. This government has done this, it needs that. When we talk about Rigathi Gachagua, let us be able to look at him for who he is. Otherwise, we'll again miss the point and do what we always do: political convenience and the reasoning of emotions. And so we just want to love this person because he helps us hate the person we hate the more. And then later, 2 months later, after we get that person, we will again start having the same problem with this person. I always wonder, Mbuvi, how someone can convince me that Rigathi Gachagua is better than President William Ruto. I find it unfathomable myself.
It's interesting you said communities, but it's the same leaders who are making their communities a target. We'll start even with former DP Rigathi Gachagua. He's been talking about Murima for the longest. Right, so he's already making his community a target. There's another MP who said that the Kalenjin community is very good at capturing power and keeping it for a long time. And he even referenced President Moi, saying that he was in power for 24 years. And he said wakicheza, meaning the rest of Kenya, wakicheza pia Ruto atachukua zingine 24 and even longer. So the leaders themselves are making their communities a target. So allow me to ask you this question. First of all, why is the president so comfortable with people talking about unconstitutional ways and means of keeping him in power, and he's saying absolutely nothing about it? I don't know. Wewe kama mwandani wa serikali, hebu tuambie.
You have called me mwandani wa serikali. As we are in broad-based arrangement, you know, I have to clarify that so that we are fair to each other.
Right.
We are in broad-based arrangement, and this broad-based arrangement is because we saw a situation where we might destroy the country just because we don't like an individual. And you remember what is happening in Sudan today. It was started as a very nice initiative. You know, they removed Bashir. You know, the removal of Bashir was started by professionals, you know, engineers, doctors, you know, architects. These are professionals, the elite, the people, the most learned in the country. And it has not happened in Sudan only. You remember before we had Mengistu in Ethiopia.
Right.
You know, the same thing happened. People went to the street, and the people, the elitists, said that we don't want this arrangement. And when they deposed the leader then, Mengistu came in, the military took power. Now the military was sitting with the civilians, who are not well inducted into the statecraft of the Sudan, which was under Bashir. And the moment the military was very uncomfortable with these young people, and they could not, because there are some things in statecraft you cannot be taught. You just have to understand them. You said nobody can teach you that. Unajua watu wakifanyanga hivi lazima wachukue uende wasukume kidogo ndio wajue kwamba Kenya has this vision, because otherwise if we communicate in the media, our enemies, which sometimes are neighboring countries or the interested party of the communities, might not understand, you know, might take up the idea and stop us from achieving what we want to achieve as a nation. So these young people who went and said that they wanted to depose and removed Bashir, now Sudan, even if you give them 60-50 years, that country is properly destroyed. You know, one of the most beautiful countries in Africa with a great heritage. People talk of pyramids. You know, if you go to Sudan, you bet better pyramids than the Egyptian pyramids. You see? So when we saw the opportunities to save this government and where people were going to, you remember UDA brought this thing into themselves.
Right.
Because there was something which was happening in central Kenya here. There was, you know, when you see the bubbles starting from below, kuna moto mtu ameweka chini. When people were talking about Limuru 3, you said, what are people, watu wanaongelea nini? You see, and then it erupted. And then you saw the deputy president going to coast. The president is here. These people are not acting as a team. Then you said, you know, people were different, reading from different scripts. When they came to now look like they were stable, they could not work together. They could not attend the same meeting. They could not even sit in the cabinet. They could not say, and even themselves, they decided, mtu aende. They call it Makanga Ashuke. So when we went to the stage of Makanga Ashuke, we said, ala, Mkanga anaweza kushuka, but anaweza kushuka na nchi. So what do we do? As ODM, let's come. We don't like this person, but we have a democratic arrangement that it's a 5-year period. So why don't we give this person the 5-year? We look for ways of stabilizing this guy. And some of the people, the MPs, even the political leaders, went against, even, you know, people blame Baba for a lot of things. But even Baba was not willing to save these people because they told him he was useless. They tried to shoot him. They said, and he decided to keep off. And we want UDA, we told them that, please, Kenyan issues are best transacted through political parties. UDA stopped funding political parties. ODM could not get money. So you had to depend on the 5,000 contributed by every MCA of ODM, 10,000 contributed by every MP to pay salaries, to run political activities, while national issues are best in a democracy or political multi-party democracy is best channeled through political parties. When you don't have a political entity, you have an hydra. The hydra is headless, tailless. You don't know where it's going to emerge, and you know. So now they're dealing with the hydra. You unajaribu lao wamezima Nairobi, you cannot get into Nairobi. Jana uliona Nanyuki, kesho unaona Nakuru. You see, so the head is emerging. Then you are now trying to. We told them, let's selfishly fund these political entities. Wiper, ODM, give every parliamentary political party the funding as required by the constitution.
Right.
They didn't see that sense. So that's why we have this issue that let's maintain this democracy. When the president was coming to Dagoretti North last week, you saw people complaining that ananunua watu. It is not the president bringing those people. These people are our people. And I told you that people don't understand. These are the voters of Dagoretti North. People are saying that watu wameletwa kutoka wapi. These are the voters. You see, in this Dagoretti North, the chair lady anaitwa Maxi of ODM. If you see her today, utasema kwamba huyu anaweza kuafford hata hizo nyumba zetu za Kilimani na Kileleshwa kweli. But if she commands 10,000 women in this constituency to come and vote for you, nothing will stop them because they believe her, and it's based on trust. These watchmen all, when I came here to vote, to campaign the last time Arati was here and as MP,
right,
I found Arati. There's a field we use there called Facebook, and Facebook had 5,000 watchmen sitting down wearing uniform. Me, I've never seen 5,000 watchmen in my eyes wearing uniform. Kila mtu amekaa chini like a, and I said, what is this? And when I come to interact with these people and you come to respect them, you understand they decided the destiny. And he said, where is the input of this other community called the middle class, where I come from?
Right.
The people who have gone to universities, the people, where are you in the grassroots politics of your community, where you live? Do you live every election time to go and vote in your village constituency? Ama Netflix is better is better than your vote. So I think for us as ODM, and we selfishly defend the government. You know, when you people are talking and blaming those young legislators, I told you what will carry the day now, and these young people are pushing themselves into a corner, is that it is going to either cult of personalities or balance of terror. And that lady is just playing to the cult of personalities thing. Anasema kwamba si amtaki Ruto, mimi namtaka. Si mnasema mtu yule anaingia kwa nguvu, hata wetu ataingia kwa nguvu. Because even these young people have been telling us that Ruto has lost the communication game. Ruto has lost the conversations. Ruto has lost. How are you gauging that? They're not professional pollsters, and you're going to campaign against him, and you're going to decampaign him, and you're going to try to remove him. Know that you're dealing with a formidable person.
Well, I have a question, because you have said that we assume, we ignore these statements by these leaders about the rigging of 2027 elections. Are you saying that we ignore that as our
I'm not saying that you ignore them. What I'm saying is that this leader is having the political speak, the political language. You know, he's trying to excite his corner. He's trying to excite his master, because the master is going to come to be two. It's going to be either Gachagua and the Amua election, Amani. You see, the last time it was only Raila. In fact, it was only Raila. It was either unakuwa elected because Raila amekubeba mkono, ama unakuwa elected because Raila haupendi. There are some people in central Kenya who got elected just because they hated Raila.
Okay.
And that's why people from both sides, there were people in ODM who didn't like Raila going to AU. At all, I saw people celebrating in Addis Ababa. ODM. You know, we had people who paid their own tickets to go and celebrate Baba falling. In ODM. There are people who from the other side also just came to witness Komba Baba and Avol. In fact, they were sleeping in hotels, calling presidents. They had these networks because they had... and they're saying that jamaa kitoka sasa nani tutachapa. Kuna watu wakasema nani atanibeba mkono. There are communities here, there are families here, there are dynasties, the small dynasties, family. Baba ni MP, kijana ni MCA. You see, who didn't want Baba? Because they have gotten into elections just because Baba has carried their hand.
Okay.
Why don't we have for the first time that people come and sit on the table and discuss issues? You get elected because you proposed a better way of delivering the mandate in Kilimani, better than the sitting MCA. In Kileleshwa, better than the sitting MCA. And wasema kwamba tuko na shida gani? Tuko na shida ya high rise buildings, tuko na shida ya takataka, tuko na shida ya barabara. Wewe alai umesema utafanya hii, mimi nitafanya hivi. Na utafanya hii aje, utafanya hii. So you get elected because of the way you have convinced people. But now you have a situation that people are going to get elected because kuna hetometer. How much do you hate Ruto? So kuna mtu pia anasimama kwa podium anasema kwamba you hate him. Mimi I love him. And I love him how? I love him mpaka nataka kuensure kwamba amekuwa rigged in.
Mundalo, niko na swali in regards to some of the things that Alai has said. It seems like from that conversation, our elections in Kenya are not issue based, but personality based. It's either a Ruto situation or a Raila situation or even a Kalonzo situation. Kenyans don't vote along issues like what is Raila going to give me as a Kenyan for me to vote for him. It's about I love him so much, that's why I'm going to vote for him. He has been fighting for this country in the last very many years, or he has lost every other election, so I want him to win in this particular one. But no one wants to vote for issues.
Extremely true. We are basically an emotional voting bloc. We vote on the whims of our emotions. So wherever our emotions drives us, that is where we go. And that's why today you look at it and you want to ask a normal Kenyan out here, why do you think this is better than this? Very rarely will you be able to get something tangible out of them. And that's why the political class, most of them, no matter how much you push them, they will not go the agenda side, because most of them cannot even actually articulate agenda. I was so disappointed yesterday when Rigathi said that I have not claimed to be a solution, but the solution is one term. So you see, the person is pegging the solution of an entire country on a slogan.
Okay.
And then you have people increasingly celebrating that and feeling like it is revolutionary and saying, yeah, that is the only solution. And I was more disappointed to hear from Alai's colleague this morning, Kibagendi, on one of the TV station. And Kibagendi is one of the youngest legislators that we have, very educated, from ODM. Kibagendi has actually been a director of youth affairs for the current president, who was deputy president, and reaffirming that the solution of this country is one term. So you see, that is sloganeering and simply pushing the emotions of the people. But then what can we do about it? Because I love having the conversation around what is then the solution. And before you actually went to allow, you said most the people, these politicians and the political leaders of this country, how many are they? They are roughly, I don't think we have more than 2,500 elected people in this country. But then for every problem, we want to narrow it and lump it on them and make it look like they are the whole problem. It is not always like that, movie, because who exactly are they pushing towards ethnicity? They are pushing us. So before they succeed in pushing us, then there must be acceptance from us. So we have accepted to be mobilized on ethnic lines. So the first solution we must have is we must self-introspect. We must look into ourselves again and ask ourselves, is this the line that we want? Because the politicians operate according to the whims of the masses. When we change the narrative, they will change. Because for them, the vote is the most important. When they discover that the issue sells more than the tribe, they will sell the issue. But for as long as we keep making them discover that the tribe sells more, that emotions sell more, then they will go with that. When the politicians realize, that we have sat down and we are starting to ask ourselves and putting everyone on a pedestal, when they realize that we are starting to ask questions and asking, you Honorable Matiang'i, you want to be president, why do you want to be president? What is the reason? Can you be president on account of bravado? That you went to immigration with bravado? And things were able to happen.
If we give Matiang'i that same microphone, in a radio station like this one, of course he will give us issues. But when he goes to the ground, the narrative changes.
I assure you, Mbuvi, most of the time they don't give you any reason. Because you also in the media don't ask for any reason. You concentrate the conversation on personalities. You give politicians a lot of comfort zone. You have a presidential candidate on your mic. Most of what you're asking him is why he hates the other one. Why do you think this one is better than the other one? Do you think the Maasais will support you? Do you think you have more Kalenjins? Have you mobilized your community? Those are the questions I see these people being asked. I don't see them being grounded on issues. I don't see them being asked to be held into account. I have not seen presidential candidates being told what exactly, how many interviews has Rigathi Gachagua had ever since he left office? So many. But why do they trend? Because there is something he said transformative about the education sector? Do they trend because there is something he said about the health sector that was so transformative? When he is saying SHA is bad, is he giving an alternative? Is he saying, this is what I proposed while inside, they were not able to follow this, and they went with this, but this looks better? No one is putting politicians to that kind of account. When we start making these people answer to the question of ideology and what is your plan and what is your agenda, then we'll get things better. One of the easiest things to do, Mbuvi, is to be a politician in opposition. Because I told you last I was here that when you are in the opposition, all you need to do is to say no. You don't need to hear the question. Just say no. And the moment you say no, the rest of the things you say after that will just make sense. Because most often, governments are not popular. The person who is in office is usually not a popular person. So anyone not him, anyone but him, always looks like the better version. And that's what we do when we are basing our things on emotions. I can assure you, Mbuvi, when we start having real conversations and asking ourselves, like I was telling you, this candidate is the senator for Busia, wants to be president. Then we ask ourselves, what is the reason? Do you become president because you have the highest accolade of an activist? Is a president an activist? You have done so well as an activist, and we agree. Kudos, you've been able to change this. Nice. But does that make you presidential material? Because then the job of the president is not activism. Because we must be able to elect leaders on the basis of the office they are going to hold, not the one they are holding now. We must be able to look at the office they are going to hold. I was told you last time, when you look at Maraga, for instance,
Right.
are we going to elect a president just because you're now the presidential election? And that's a qualification for you to be a president?
I want to stop
so
you
we
right
must
there.
be able to be issue based, and then we'll get things better.
I want to stop you there because I want us to get into the news. But when we return, and this is a question also I'll pose to Alai. When you people sit down as ODM and as any other party, do you discuss what he has said, or you discuss strategies of how to win the masses? Like, do you say tukienda Kibra tutaongea juu ya maji, tutaongea juu ya security, tutaongea juu ya wamama na kuzaa, ama tukifika huko wenda tu useme tu Ruto must go and everything will be fine? So do stand by, don't go too far, we'll be right back.
Radio Generation, the home of urban soul. This is the Radio Generation News.
Good morning, I'm Winnie Maganga. Public secondary school heads have raised the alarm of a mounting financial crisis in their institutions, urging the government to urgently release more than 18 billion in capitation funds owed since the beginning of the year. They warned that the delay has severely disrupted the running of schools, especially affecting day schools, and could force early closure before the scheduled August 1st deadline. Speaking under the umbrella of the Kenya Secondary School Heads Association, the principals accused the government of disbursing inadequate funds for 2 consecutive terms, paralyzing school operations across the country.
I think time is coming when now the parents have to come in, and I think it is also time that the government will have agreed that this amount we can only be able to provide. This one we cannot provide, maybe turn to the parents. Because this has become so common, it's an annual problem.
2 people were killed on Monday morning in a deadly improvised explosive device attack in Bodai, Mada Adon within Garissa County. Authorities suspect the attack was carried out by Al-Shabaab militants who continue to pose a serious security threat in the region. The victims have been identified as Mohammed Shabel Bashir and Abdikadir Mohammed Salat. Initial reports indicate that the IED detonated during the early hours, targeted 2 individuals as they traveled through the area. Ijara Member of Parliament Abdi Ali Abdi condemned the attack, calling it a senseless act of violence and a painful reminder of the ongoing threats to peace and security in the region. The Kenya Union of Clinical Officers has put Nairobi County on notice of a failure to address a clinician's concerns despite having been on strike since the 21st of April 2025. According to KUSO, operations in hospitals across the country have been greatly affected, with the level 4 and 5 facilities worst affected. Led by Union's chairperson Peterson Washira, they say they want to bring to the public attention the dire situation affecting health services delivery in Nairobi City County. They say the situation has been occasioned by the ongoing industrial action by clinical officers, which has now entered its 83rd day.
Many facilities around Nairobi have not been working, and even those that have been working have not been working optimally. But what is more concerning is the carefree nature with which the county government of Nairobi has been handling these issues. For almost 3 months now, we have not seen the governor try to address these issues.
Our members have stagnated at the same job group for the longest, and now we have a new policy document that dictates our employment from internship to retirement that the county government promises to implement but does nothing in regards to its implementation.
Interior Cabinet Secretary Kipchumba Murkomen has assured the country and international community of security ahead of the African Nations Championship in August. Speaking after inspecting Nyayo and Kasarani stadiums on Monday, Murkomen said the government has put in place comprehensive security protocols to ensure the success of the Continental Football Tournament. The CS also noted that the stadiums are equipped with CCTV cameras, enabling real-time surveillance and enhanced crowd monitoring.
Usalama katika viwanja vyetu vyote iko sawa, na tumehakikisha kwamba ile mitambo yote imewekwa hapa ya kupasa sauti, ya kuzima moto, hata jinsi ambavyo unaweza kuingia katika uwanja huu na Nyayo imewekwa vizuri kuhakikisha kwamba hatutakuwa na madhara yoyote na hatutakuwa na msongamano ama ile msukumano.
Meta's founder Mark Zuckerberg has said the social media giant will spend hundreds of billions of dollars on building a huge AI data centers in the US. The first multi-gigawatt data center called Prometheus is expected to come online in 2026, Zuckerberg said. He said one of the sites will cover an area nearly the size of Manhattan. Meta has invested heavily in efforts to develop what is called superintelligence technology that is said could outthink the smartest humans. And that's the truth on Radio Generation. Good morning. I'm Winnie Maganga.
In the beginning, there was morning radio.
I've never seen anything like this.
But now there is Radio Generation's The People's Breakfast. Curious and bold, getting facts from the shadows.
That's what it is.
Now, as the city wakes and secrets stir, a bright new voice shines. The People's Breakfast. Your morning, your voice, your journey.
You got it locked.
Good morning.
Good morning, my neighbor.
Welcome to the home of hard truths and bold insights. Radio Generation.
Indeed, we are the home of hard truths and bold insights. This is the People's Breakfast. My name is Mungala Movie, and I'm with my colleague Patricia. The conversation here has been very fiery, if you ask me. We've just been having conversations around the whole issue of the conclave, intergenerational conclave, the conversation that we need to have. And I don't know, have you been convinced as a young person in this country
that we need to have it?
That we need to have it.
Okay, it's Patricia.
Yeah, she's young enough.
Young enough.
She's young enough.
Young at heart.
No, we are young at heart.
You want your heart. We're not interested in your body.
That's
what people need to understand. We are not interested in your body.
It's just the heart.
It's just the heart. Yeah.
So we are part of this. Actually, we are part of this because, in any case, the issue of cost of living.
Right.
It is affecting all of us. Police brutality. It is affecting all of us.
Cost of living.
The high cost of living, the issue of overtaxation.
What can you afford now?
Overtaxation and so forth. Mkate sijuzi imekuwa 40 bob. Right now we are talking of 70, 75 shillings. Those are the things that actually.
But how far ago was bread 40 bob?
40 bob. Unajua me.
Sikita
crucify this devil.
But
give him his due.
For the
first time, I've never seen somebody who work so hard mpaka unasikia kwamba hakuna mtu anaongelea unga. In my community, we are not very good, we are not from the bread basket. And the bread basket means that we are not producing the staple food, the maize, in this country. So by the time we are getting to the next planting season, unga inakwanga very expensive. Gorogoro. You hear? Nobody's talking about gorogoro today. Because in a hover around 3, 5, 4. By the time we are always going to the planting season, inakwanga 8, 9 per gunia. 8, 9K per gunia. In a hover around 3, 4. For the first time, hata saizi unapiga, they have planted, there is going to a bumper harvest.
Yes.
I think that let's crucify this devil, but give him his due.
Those are some of the few things that people, of course, have pointed out, and that is what we are saying. So I'm part of those people. I'm in that group. So if we are going to sit down, and if we are going to sit down, I'm also looking at the ideology that we have now, the Gen Zs, because sababu tumesema sisi wote ni Gen Zs. We have this issue.
Sisi wote sio Gen Z, mimi sio Gen Z.
Okay, sawa, tribeless. Actually, for the first time,
I come from a tribe.
It's okay. So I'm saying, like, for the first time that the Gen Zs came out, of course, they portrayed that aspect of being tribeless.
But let's not allow these young people to confuse the country. So these young people they don't have the experience. They don't have the historical knowledge of this country to understand. They don't even read well. Their attention span ni ile ya Twitter, ya TikTok, in a flash
5 minutes, 5 seconds.
And the attention span now is the commodity they sell. This attention span is not even very valuable, but somebody has crafted a way of buying this attention span of these young people in $0.00. That's why TikTok is very valuable. I'm talking as a developer.
Okay.
One thing I study is computer science. So these young people should not be allowed to these people have to be guided. The moment you let these young people confuse you and tell you that everybody's I have to accept that Patricia is not from my ethnic group, but I have to see the beauty in Patricia despite her not being from my side. You see, the moment I start saying that if I identify the ethnicity of Patricia, I look down upon her, don't employ her, don't consider her a worthy colleague, I am the problem. So the person saying I'm tribeless is the problem.
Okay. Let's look at it from your perspective. But now, from my perspective, is that there is an underlying message. Issue being tribeless. I guess there is an underlying issue that they are bringing forth. The issue, we know the impact of tribal politics. Na ni kitu tumezungumzia hapa. Actually, if you want to succeed in creating emotions, chukua line ya tribe. That is where now you're going to succeed, and that is the reason why I'm asking, as a country, are we ready for these politics that are non-tribal? Are we ready for that? Because that is where now people are using, wanatumia njia ya tribe kuhakikisha kwamba they work with your emotions to influence your voting. That is the question that I'm asking as we start this hour.
Okay. Now, you see, first of all, burying your head in the sand does not mean your body is not being seen. So we can choose the lesser evil, or we can choose to be real. Our issue about tribes does not start and end with elections. Our issues about tribe are larger than that.
True.
We have people in this country who will not accept their daughter to present Mbuvi from the Kamba community. Because of the tribe. That will not be an election issue, it will be a marriage issue.
Yes.
So we have people who would not employ someone from a certain place. We have had these conversations that have ended up as jokes in the comedy industry, where our biggest fan base of our comedy industry is jokes that have tribal leanings and tribal affiliations. So when we make it look as though the only problem with our tribal is only with the politics, we lose the point.
No, it's not with politics alone.
So it is yes in politics, but it's larger than that. It is more inculcated than that. So what do we need to do? First of all, in my estimation, we need to accept that having a tribe is not a wrong thing. Let us not be able to have arguments that border on almost wishing people came from nowhere. Because people will always come from somewhere. Yeah. So we first of all must be able to accept that we must come from somewhere, and coming from somewhere is not a bad thing. And that's why today some people think when your child speaks English only, then that's a good thing.
It's cool.
Then we think it's cool. But then at some point we are again going to complain about it. Yeah? So having an origin is not a bad thing. How you use your point of origin should be the problem. You get? So that our different leanings do not necessarily affect and impair our judgment of everything else. So that we're able to appreciate ourselves in our diversity. I'm sure all of us love it very much when you go to the airport and you see the Maasai welcoming our dignitaries there. We have never been able to say, why the Maasai alone? Tomorrow we want to have Luos also doing the same. We want to have Luyas doing this.
Wajaluo hawezi ruka juu hivyo kama Wamasai.
Wanaweza kuja na samaki. You know, they can come with their thing now. Yeah, or we have now Kalenjins also.
No, they're also good dancers, by the way.
Yeah, it depends which part of the body they will use. But the issue is, we have appreciated, and when we see the Maasai do that, we have appreciated them without having a tribal leaning to it. When our athletes go outside there and win the gold medal, we have celebrated them as Kenyans and not as Kalenjins. So we must be able to inculcate that in many other forms. That when we come here, when Mbuvi is a good journalist, he is appreciated for that and not because of where he comes from. So let us not be able to think that us branding ourselves like we come from nowhere will help the situation. We can brand ourselves and give ourselves a good name, but deep in our hearts, we are as tribal as nothing.
All right.
So it is about how we actually inculcate ourselves. Let us not be able to use our tribes and where we come from to get advantage over others, but let us appreciate it for the diversity that it offers us. That way we accept our origin, we accept where we come from. Can you imagine Mbuvi going outside there, and because you're not in Kenya, and then it's fashionable that you should say you are countryless?
That doesn't work.
Modelo, I think we need to get deeper into what these young people meant by being tribeless. Yeah, it is not just the meaning that tunaiona. There's something they were pushing.
Yes, they were pushing an idea whereby they are saying our ethnicity has become the biggest reason why we vote, and it has given us a problem. So can we move away from that?
Yes,
that's a proper agenda.
Yeah.
But then what I'm saying is, it is not because the solution is not in branding ourselves, not in the brand. It is in the inculcation. It is in us believing that sober leadership can actually just be sober leadership. It's not about just a brand. Today we have many presidential candidates, but most of the conversation you will see even on social media is we the young people are conversing and saying, but you see, he comes from a smaller community, doesn't have numbers. Even after branding ourselves tribal. So it's not in the brand, it is in us choosing to make the right decisions. It is in us looking at the quality of the leaders and how quick can it actually begin. I find that there is a possibility. Actually, you asked, is it possible that we can get to that point? And I think there is a possibility. Because there was such a try in the 2022 election. And in the 2022 election, I think for the very first time, the percentage of conversation on ideas was a little higher than all the other elections, where we were struggling with the hustler narrative, the bottom-up economic agenda. On the other side, we had the Azimio plan. We had the conversation around the 6,000. There was a trial at having a conversation around, meaning it's a step in the right direction. So as we head into the next election, we should even make it even firmer. Yeah, and that's why I insist on, let us have an audit that is practical. Let us be able to say, this is the better plan of President William Ruto on housing. What has he been able to do on these? Then you coming on as the other alternative, also tell us what exactly are you going to do. For the very first time in the country, we are having a time whereby we have, every time you hear the president speaking, he really struggles to say what he is doing. He struggles to make the conversation very agenda based. unlike most of the politicians even who are his friends. But the president in himself, every time you hear him, he wants to talk about the housing and the jobs it has created. You hear him talk about the social health authority and the chief and what is the impact. You hear him talk about the Kazi Maju and what he's doing about unemployment. And then on the other side, what has happened is the opposition side bashes those things that he talks about, but it does not give alternatives. Yeah, because this is a person who is saying this is what I have been able to do. We are saying you haven't done it well, but we are not saying how would we do it better. So if we are able to push the leaders towards having those kind of conversations, then it's really going to be possible that we can actually end up electing sober leadership. But that starts with us first of all reducing the volume of our emotions and increasing the volume of our reasoning. The problem is most of the time the volume of our emotions is too high. We don't want to reason. That's why today, and like rightfully talked about the issue of the cost of living that you raised when we were just starting, most of the time I hear people raise these issues, but when you starting a conversation about it, they quickly run away from it, because then they discover that probably they are not as right as they imagined. Yeah, so instead of running away from the conversation, let us be able to have it. Let us talk about the cost of living and saying, by the way, cost of living, what is the issue? In truth, unga price has dropped. Yeah, that is the truth. In truth, the price of gas has come down. That is the truth. In truth, this government has been able to give subsidy to give fertilizer at 2,500 shillings, which was 7,000. In truth, we now have more maize in the country, in our stores, that we had before. In truth, today we are not doing importation of sugar. Those are truths.
Okay,
that's about cost of living. It doesn't depend on anything.
No, it depends.
It doesn't.
From where are you talking?
No. When it's a fact, it doesn't depend. Facts don't depend on anything. They are facts. So the only way they can be able to be, you can be able to say, this is what has been done, but this is what has not been done. Then we now discuss another fact and say, despite the fact that this cost is like this, but we have this cost that is high, and this and this and this. Because our argument cannot just always be wholesome, and then we are not particular on anything. That's why I keep pushing the conversation. Can we be particular? Can we be able to say, you can't just say SHA is not working. No. Can we be able to say, where is it not working? What is the impact? When you look at the number of people in hospital, how many are getting cleared? How many are not? What are the teething problems? What are the challenges? Is it hanging? But those times when we are saying the system is hanging, when we say the system is hanging, we get a solution. When we say the amount being covered is not as much as we would want, then that can be solved. But when we just wholesomely say this thing is not working, at the end of the day, it is populist. I can't just come to generation and say, you guys are not good hosts. Not good hosts, how?
Because we didn't ask the right questions.
Yeah, then now when I say you didn't ask me the right questions, maybe that becomes a reason. But when I just say you're not good hosts, the reason is because you are not. Why am I saying so? I insist that no, you're just not. No, I must be. That doesn't become an argument. I should be able to say, I think you're not good because this would have been, this question was able to go like this. I think the context was not. There are things I must be able to say. That way we improve. But if I just do blanket judgment and say I hate the radio, so how does that, how does emotional hating of the radio help the radio?
Nimesikia akisema kwamba gasi imerudi chini, while nimenunua tu juzi gasi imepanda, ndugu yangu.
Kutoka lini? Kutoka
nimenunua when on Sunday. Yeah. So but there's a time you were buying. The last time I bought it at 22. Right now they are telling me at 25. Na nikamuuliza
which kg?
Is it 16? I don't know.
The big one.
The big one, yeah. Yeah, nikamuuliza kasema gasi imeshapanda.
Unajua Patricia. You're in the media.
Yes.
You're in the media. Unajua when you're in the media, there's something which we invest in. Is on research, and if the moment you say that is it 16, you have lost the argument.
No, I'm just
because you're not even sure about how many kgs. We want to engage you.
Yes,
and we want to be very fair to you. So be fair to me also. Tell me so that, because I am not the policy maker here on this thing, but I want to look my competitor or the person, my partner, in the eye and tell him that unajua wewe sikupendi because of ABCD, unafanya na ngorota sana, rudisha volume. You see some of these things. Niambia kwamba umepunguza, lakini hawa, why is Patricia paying this na mimi nalipa hii? You see? So one thing I find challenging in the media, and I have to urge you guys to correct it, especially with the presidential contenders and the gubernatorial candidates, is that when the media start going to the homes of political contenders, they make them bigger than your platforms. There's a very big challenge there. I wish that Matiang'i would be brought to a TV studio. I wish that if Raila was contesting the presidency, or he was the kingmaker, or you bring him to the studio. Let's have a one-on-one with a journalist in a platform where you can hear your producers. Not that you go to a setup where anakupatia kitchen yake, unaweka equipment. You see, so Matiang'i is very common now with Gachagua. You see, it's very common with Gachagua.
Yes.
But what does that do to the mentality of the journalist, the producer who is producing that show, and going to the stronghold or the person you are supposed to hold to account? You know, people are doing interviews in the hotel here, Gachagua. You see, let's not make these people bigger than, because we have a bigger thing called Kenya. Kama we ni Mkenya, let's go. If you are going to go to a hotel, twende Serena, a neutral ground. It's not yako, sio yangu. Ni kwa sababu tu you cannot fit in our studio because of ABC. Do we have a smaller studio, or the platform was not good enough for this conversation? But stop going to their homes. I beg you people.
We shall talk to our producer so that we don't come to your home alive.
Not you people, because I've not seen you people. You know, you have called me here, and that's why I'm willingly going to hata ifika sangapi. But also these presidential contenders, especially these very loud, the leaders, the political leaders, don't make them so big that now if citizen want to interview Kalonzo, he goes somewhere in Kitui, ama go somewhere in Karen, very comfortable, probably amekupikia chai pale na nini yake. He has already disarmed you. By the time unatoka kwa hii studio yake you have set up, it will take you 2 hours to dismantle your equipment. You still need the goodwill. Kama uliuliza maswali mbaya, you might be just there without properly dismantling, without you know. So I think that it is something which we need to consider seriously.
Okay.
And we need to understand that this plays in the cycle of holding leaders to account. These leaders, I wish that we hold President Ruto to account, but with truth, and also being very fair to him. A president who got into power in 2008, and this reality has hit me, because you know, I told you, when you get elected, in CTL is a maze. I can tell you that if you get elected MCA today, you will not learn how to work in CTL, especially in Nairobi. And you know, Nairobi is the second biggest assembly. Second biggest assembly. That's assembly on, you know, the county has 2 arms, the assembly and the executive. The second biggest assembly of the National Assembly, bigger than Senate. Nairobi County is bigger than 26 bottom counties combined. You see, Nairobi County has close to 16,000 employees. When you want to understand the Nairobi County, if somebody is not patient with you enough, the governor has gotten in. Umeanza kudemand, ulisema 1 year ago utatengeneza barabara. What have you achieved in 100 days? Well, 100 days, you are a corporate leader. You have just entered into this politics.
Yes.
First, you have to learn how to deal with this as a MIU and UDA. You have come with UDA. The UDA want to blackmail you. The leader with they chose as the majority, the minority leader in the assembly is not working with them. So he's not able to whip the members, you know. So, you know, Ruto got into this politics. You remember he had to poach some of our MPs for him to have the majority in parliament. You see, by the time he was trying to settle in here, tukamweka na maandamano. 2023 kaisha hivyo. By the time he's trying to settle in 2024, vugu la vijana.
Kimbi.
Watu wanakimbia hapa. He had to go to their platform to beg them. They're insulting the commander. You see, you had the conversation when Uhuru Kenyatta and William Ruto was sworn in. The first prayer breakfast. And William Ruto is the one who narrated it. If you read the psyche of the military, kwamba somebody was telling the commander-in-chief to kneel down to be prayed on. And the chief of general staff was saying, what? Nobody kneels down. The chief of the CDF, the commander in chief, is not going to kneel down before anybody. You know, William Ruto, so that one should have explained to an average journalist the mind of what is called the system. On what the presidency is. Like this guy reduced himself to some young people with no ID, with no face, with no insulting him. Oh, yeah, they were insulting him on a platform, and this insult was not contained into a room. The president was supposed to meet next week from Europe was hearing this insult. You see, we underrate Ruto so much, but what I'm telling you, that for the first time, I'm seeing an opportunity of having a leader whom you can engage in platforms never imagined on. I wish that we would use it productively and just be patient up to 2027 or 2026 ikiisha, when the campaign is declared, start campaigning against him. But give him the chance or engage him, because this is a leader who wakes up 1 week, he has met almost every delegation in central Kenya. The next week he meets every delegation in Nyanza. Every region he meets them, and he's not meeting the governor or the MPs alone. He meets the MPs, he meets the MCAs. By the way, time, you know, we always tell hata baba tushamwambia kwamba unajua baba, mimi since ni electiwe hakuna siku baba ameniita watu wa ODM MCA peke yake. When he calls the MCAs, unaona MPs, because the MPs fear the MCAs. They always have to sneak in and control the meeting. So the MCA don't end up articulating their issues. But it's William Ruto who meets MCA. Hata tuko na picha in our social media. Alone. He wakes up and meets village elders alone. And he talks and he asks them, wanaenda wengine wanamwambia maneno machafu, you know, but by the time he lives there, he has had a conversation with them. I wish that we would seize that, especially these young people, because where they are ending up, they're going to die on their own swords.
I like what you've said earlier on about, you know, giving the president his flowers where he has performed, tuseme yenyewe iko sawa na mali pia ameanguka, tumwambie na tunamwambia with facts, right? There's a what is it called? There's a moniker that people have given him, you know, calling him Kaongo, meaning that he's lying too much. And unfortunately, we have some of those facts. For instance, I think it was from June last year, we were supposed to be buying gas at 300 bob. What my sister here was trying to, you know, talk about, and many other things that are not coming to mind right now. But when you start promising people such things, some of them look extremely unrealistic. Let's not forget, let's not even start about the stadiums that we were promised when Jubilee was coming in for their second term. When we pick out such things, Kenyans get angered.
I know, I understand you.
They get angered, and there are some of the things that we are like, "Ay, bwana." You understand? So how do we deal with? How do we reconcile that? Fine, you're telling us the president meets MCAs, and that's a good thing, because that's his work. He's meeting MPs, that's a good thing. But it is his work. Sasa mimi msinipigie makofi juu nimekuja kazini. Nipigeni makofi nikifanya kitu extraordinary. So what are we saying? What I'm asking is, when we have those kinds of issues, how do we reconcile with them? Because we know he's human. We know he has emotions. Venye anatukanwa online kwa social media, at the end of the day he has to deal with those insults. Mimi mkinitukana nitachizi at one point. But at the end of the day, he asked for this job. No one gave it to him by force. How do we reconcile with these issues that we have with him?
I wish that we would be honest with him, because you know, the president, you know, when he was promising the stadium, he was not the ultimate decision maker. There was somebody who was the commander in chief, you know, the head of state then, who was Uhuru Kenyatta. And now I understand it better. And when Uhuru Kenyatta was the head of state, there are things you promise, but because of the dynamics of the Kenyan politics, he would not deliver. You know, maybe the people who have been allowed to do other things. But remember, like I said, this person, we have not given him chance to even settle. The finance bill, which was most consequential, you see, was consequential in his economy. Because, you know, this one is, people have now made finance bill be the most evil thing to, even the county in Nairobi, where we, you know, I was just telling the sector of agriculture that one goat pale slaughterhouse. If you want to slaughter one goat, it's 75 bob. I asked myself, this goat is 15,000. Why are we charging 75 bob? Because it was what was put in the law in the 80s. So they rate here. So you see, but Sakaja would not dare, because finance bill for changing that now is not cool. This president promised all these things, and it made it look, when we were starting this affordable housing project, we opposed it. In fact, the first Gen Zs, we were using our own vehicles to ferry water to these young people to tell them, because they said they didn't want politicians, but the politicians were urging them on, telling them how to mobilize. You know, the politicians were in the background. Even now, the politicians will always be there, because Akuna, when you mobilize Vijana from Kileleshwa, and I'm the MCA for Kileleshwa, they'll always tell me, because probably they will not like the idea of them going there. They think you will not like the idea of them going to work. When you see them in the TV, now are arrested, and they come from your ward, you will not be able to protect them. So when they are going for these things, they call you, hey, Mwesh, by the unajua tumeitwa hii kazi na so and so. Tufanyeje? Tuende tusiende. That's why you see in the whole of Nairobi, ODM strongholds, they are avoiding going there, and you know, broad-based strongholds, they are avoiding going to these meetings, because they know that the area leaders, unless some of them who support them, chini. When this president was promising some of these things, we thought it was. But for the first time, when I went to Mukuru Juzi and the president was launching some of these units, they were small. In fact, some of them, I met a planner in Nairobi City County who said I refused to approve those houses because they were smaller than the standard housing. But what was he replacing? If you go to Majengo, me, when I was in college in this, the first time I came to Nairobi, I was staying in Wamwares. Wamwares is the Nora Phase 1. Then when I started college, I was staying in Majengo. You see, and Majengo is Wakamba, na Wakikuyu, but Waislamu. And you get a different kind of Kenya, the kind of, and you know, then the Waislamu were the, and not like, unlike now where you see at least there's economic, empowerment among the community. They were very poor economically. You see, so and especially you could see the stack, and that's why Majengo was at some point a very good stronghold of the bad elements in Al Qaeda and so on. But when I stayed with those young people and you see those potential, one thing which made me so surprised is the fact that the community in the slums stay very active up to very late, and that is why, and it's because some things like a toilet needs 24-hour access. If you let a situation where it's only men walking outside there, then the women will not be safe in those toilets at night. But when you have everybody, the community is active day and night. So there's a community which sleeps during the day, there's a community which sleeps during the night. So the community stays at night, because these young people, even the kids, need to access the toilets even at night. So when you upgrade somebody from Mukuru, where they use one community toilet serving probably 50,000 people, you see, and you upgrade it, kila mtu saizi akona choo mbili kwa nyumba yake. You are celebrating the house, somebody is celebrating that kind of privacy, that kind of independence amepata, and you'll see it in their own eyes, because the first 1008 units were free. They were paying zero. The government decided to give them for free. They were given fully furnished. And you would see them, you're interacting with them. And I called Baba and told him, Baba, this thing, if you're not part of it, is very transformative. Because even Baba was not aware, kwamba hii kitu wanaifanyaje. But for him to make that transformation, he had to put pain in Mbuvi's own pocket. He had to, though ni kidogo, lakini Mbuvi alilia sana. And Mbuvi probably hates him. But imagine, I wish that as a community of taxpayers, you'll just go to Mukuru today. You'll just go to Kisumu. This is affordable housing. You'll go up and Nyuma kuna high rise. This is affordable housing. You see, you can pay 200,000 deposits, then uplift economically. If I have a sister who is not good economically, and I'm able to get them a house at 1.5 or 2 million shillings eventually, and ensure that I use my loan paying capabilities to stabilize them, then we can now struggle. Aende auze nyanya pale, lakini akona kwake, anaita kwake. That is transformation. But for me to do that one, kuna mtu nimedunga mwiba kidogo. Anaitwa middle class. And he had to do it to the level he did it because also we have not transformed the formal working environment. In Kenya, we have 18 million people employed, but only 3 million people can be seen in the radar of the taxman. You see? So in that eventuality, it's only 3 million people who can be properly taxed. Today, if you go to Baricho Road, there are mechanics there. More than 5,000 of them. These mechanics don't pay the city any rate. Our lip at 100 bob. They are 5,000. The moment you try to go there with cess chukue, inakuwa ni vita. But because we have not convinced them of the possibilities they can be able to access. That mechanic, some of them make 300,000 shillings per day. Their chairman there is a friend of mine, drives 3 V8s. Akitembea unafikiri kwamba ni MP. He doesn't want even to maisha. He's rich, he owns, now he has upgraded to owning some of the spare part shops, you know, and he's very comfortable living in that environment because the government doesn't come to. If he upgrades and goes and open a yard in Lavington,
right,
KRA will start knocking. Ataanza kulipa employees wake. So he doesn't like that. Anataka hii one man show. But that one gives him the comfort kwamba the taxman, the KRA, is not able to see him in the system. But that is a disadvantage to us because this country is majorly an informal economy. Why don't we bring them also to a platform where they can be seen, and we can also be able to empower them, to enable them to have access to loans, so that they can upgrade their skills. They can be able to get training. You know, some of these foreign trips, I wish that if they were like the leasing of the sugar farms, which is happening now today, we are leasing the sugar farms, but without a critical part of knowledge transfer. And knowledge transfer is that if people are saying that, you saw what was happening in Kericho when people were banning the combine harvesters. You ban the combine harvesters because you believe that is going to replace the manual laborers. But why don't we have an arrangement with the tea companies and tell them that when you are bringing in these machines, we want you also to take 200 people at your own cost and train them on how to drive these mechanical things, how to operate the mechanical facilities in the farms, because me as a farmer, sugarcane farmer, and I do it. When the government was managing these sugar factories of Chemelil and Moroni, if I delivered cane to Chemelil today, it would be paid after 5 years. But for the first time, you're giving it to an Indian who is paying me in 1 week. Why should I complain? You see, I know that the interest of the country, but if you give the Indian, and we need to also, sometimes we don't go deep to understand the history of sugar in this country.
Right.
Sugar was brought by the Indians who are building the railway. These people, sometimes they control the whole supply chain from the factory machineries, you know, and they have the knowledge, they can improve it. You've seen what is happening in Brazil. You remember when Idi Amin was chasing the Indians from Uganda. And then they went, and some of them now, you saw a good number of them who left Kenya and Uganda. One of Rishi Sunak became prime minister from those kind of families. In fact, the skilled Indians, the welders, the carpenters, the mechanics, and so on, because the skilled Indians, the Indians who were in Uganda and Kenya were skilled Indians. Apart from the few Dukawalas, a good number of them were skilled. They were building railways, they were operating machineries, you know. So when your grandfather was skilled, you always end up doing apprenticeship. These people went to those countries and transformed them, the whole economies. And in Kenya here, we didn't find them. In Kisumu, when they were running, I think in Nyanza, and we have to be very fair to history, because in Nyanza, Siaya never accommodated a foreigner, especially the Indians. And that's why Siaya town cannot grow. That's why Bondo town looks like a better headquarter for Siaya County than Siaya town, because they didn't appreciate diversity. And that's why I have a problem with the thing called tribeless. Because for me to appreciate, I have to say that mimi leo nikitaka ku grow ile Kisumu County, there's no way I can have Luos occupying 90% 90% of the jobs. If for Kisumu to grow, you have to have diversity. You have to have diversity, and that diversity brings in diversity of thought. You know, and the thought is the biggest investment. So I wish that these Kenyans would understand that our diversity, our strength, and the moment we say we are tribalist, we have killed our diversity. What Mzungu fears in this Africa, the diversity, and that's why for them to control us, they first had to erase our culture.
Okay.
Now you find it cool kwamba mtoto wa mbuvi anaongea kizungu na mapua.
Actually anaongeanga kizungu poa sana.
You see? And you know, me I insisted kwamba mimi kwangu hata hapa Kileleshwa, my home ground, ile sehemu naita nyumba yangu is a Luo stronghold. You speak only Luo. So my kids, I still have a challenge on how to teach them Swahili, but they speak English and Luo very well.
Okay.
You see, and that diversity, that, you know, that diversity, and they speak English because the school they went to is also a school. Watoto wana, when they speak Swahili, they're taken to be, you know, less knowledgeable or less cool. You see,
Yes,
so sometimes I wish that we would teach them to speak Swahili, because in Kenya we have the challenge of not properly speaking all languages. No, all languages.
Also,
we know a bit of mother tongue, we know a bit of Swahili, then we know a bit of English. And like in Tanzania, if you go there, those guys know Swahili properly. Properly. Na kabila, lugha ya kikabila, they call it lugha ya kikabila, properly. But in Kenya we know a little bit of everything. Then we say we are there.
So we are a jack of all trades,
yes,
master of none.
Mundalo,
he has said this whole issue of tribeless, partyless might not necessarily augur well. But there are other people who've taken the same seats that you've taken today, and they're saying that the political elite, the political class, kinalai sasa, they are afraid of this whole partyless, tribeless notion. Because the moment we take that route, then they have nothing to sell to us. The kingpins, the tribal kingpins, will have nothing to sell, because at the end of the day, there are no policies that they can give us za maana. Take Rigathi, for example. He's gone to the States, and I think this is Caleb Amisi who's actually posted something about him, and he said that how disgusting for top leaders to transport tribalism all the way to the diaspora. You travel overseas just to meet members of your tribe, as if other tribes are not working and living overseas. This is what the whole issue of tribeless and partyless is coming from. Because leaders are making us hate our own tribes or hate the tribes of our friends. Sasa nitaanza kuangalia kama Mluya, nianze kuangalia like kama Mjaluo, instead of looking at you as my fellow Kenyans, and we can drive the country forward. I don't know, what do you think about that?
Yeah, it goes back to what I said about we have an option to choose which lens to use to look at that problem. We have the option to choose some convenience lens that makes us look cool, or we have the option to look at it in the face and blame ourselves for it, because the politician is already using a currency that he understands best. When you call Mbuvi today and ask him which radio is the best in Kenya, it doesn't matter what statistics say, he will tell you Generation Radio. A politician who has gotten to where he has gotten to on the basis of tribe is not going to leave a formula that is working, because if it works, you don't change it. The person it disadvantages is the person who must be at the cornerstone of seeking the solution. The problem with us is that every political formula that disadvantages us, instead of us putting ourselves at the center stage of the solution, we still want to put the same politician at the center stage of the solution. So Rigathi Gachagua became deputy president on the basis of tribe. Yeah, and the only thing he knows well how to do is to mobilize the tribe, and that's why the only conversation he can have is how many of your tribes are on this table. And he knows very well that if he mobilizes his tribe very well, he does not necessarily need to become president, but he can negotiate with the government that comes, because then he has numbers that he can put on the negotiation table. Now, does that work for him? Yes, it does. But does it work for us? No, it doesn't. Then we must also look for what works for us. And what works for us is now what you just said. That can we be able to nurture a conversation that is based on issues devoid of tribe? And then let us pursue that path. We as the people. Let us be able to say, let us be on the front line of saying, no, not at all. We are not going to be mobilized on that basis. We appreciate, I am Kikuyu, you are Luo, you are whatever. We appreciate that. But don't give us conversations about that. Tell us what you want to do. When we are the ones to agitate for that, then we'll leave that politician with no option than to either shape up with what we want, or he will definitely lose out. Because we have had leaders who have come on the right platform, told us the right things, but we have not elected them. We have not given them a chance. That means that the problem of original entry is with us. So we must stop having this kind of reasoning that always wants to make us look like we are the saints and then the leaders are the problem. These leaders are a perfect reflection of us because they don't drop from moon. The leaders that we have don't drop from somewhere. They are not donated by any government, any foreign entities. We are the ones who actually choose them. So we must stop behaving as though these people that we chose are very, very weird. No. They are not weird. They told us these things that they are saying today, and we are the ones who elected them. So for us to be able to move the conversation towards agenda devoid of ethnicity and tribes, then let us be on the front line of refusing it from the word go, without making it look as though it is more the responsibility of the leader. It's not more the responsibility of the leader. It's more our responsibility. Let us be able to look at which leader do we want. If we are this generation that is saying, no, we are not a certain tribe and whatever, who is our candidate? How does he look like? Yeah, from the lowest level. Yeah, from the MCA. Remember, in this country, I think we are one of the highest represented people in the world. Because each of us here is represented by 6 people. So our problems we should actually not be having any problem, because each of us has 6 representatives. So we must be able to look at it and say, okay, what do I want for my MCA? And what is the role of an MCA? Because if you're going to elect an MCA on the basis of how much handout he can give, then don't blame him tomorrow when there is poor legislation in the assembly, because that was not the account on which you elected him. If you're going to elect a member of parliament on the basis of how many funerals he can attend, and how much he can be able to insult his opponents, then don't start blaming him tomorrow on the issues of the finance bill and saying he needed to understand it. He didn't need to, because the basis on which you elected him was totally different. So you'll be wanting to have your cake and eat it at the same time. If you want to elect somebody, if you are electing a governor, and you know very well that a governor is an administrator, a governor is a CEO, a governor is someone who's going to run resources. If you know that very well, and then you elect a clown for a governor, simply because he made you laugh, he knows how to talk in a funeral, he made you guys excited, then tomorrow you want to blame him for distribution of resources in the county, then you will be wanting to have your cake and eat it, because that was not the basis under which that person was elected. That person, you should be able to be judging him on account of how much he's making you laugh now as governor. How much is he making you happy now as governor? If you elected an MCA on the basis of how many funerals he can be able to attend, when he becomes MCA, please judge him on the same pedestal. Don't change the marking scheme. The problem with us is we keep changing the marking scheme. We want to elect people on the basis of something else, and then when they get into office, we want them to deliver something totally different. So we must be able to put ourselves at the cornerstone of the judgment. That's why I keep saying that these demonstrations that we keep having, we must keep remembering that the biggest problem why anything is happening is ourselves first. Before we go to any leader, before we say any leader must go, we must be able to start with ourselves, because all leaders that we have in the country today did not just come from the moon. We put them there. So and anything that we want, we must be able to know that we hold the first line of defense.
How then will that generation, I believe it's all Kenyans actually, but generation Z kidogo ni kama tunaipoteza. However, regardless, how will that generation then decide that it's Mundalo who's going to be our leader? Because clearly A few individuals tried. We know of Kasmuel.
Yeah.
They didn't necessarily outrightly come and say that we are the leaders of Gen Z.
Yeah.
But by virtue of them having been Gen Z rejected them. And they rejected them because when they started walianza vizuri sana. But somewhere along the line they messed up.
Yeah.
Remember Khalif Cairo before he started the dramas that zilimukeba baadaye?
Yes.
He started off as a very good champion during maandamano za last year.
Yes.
Then somewhere along the way hata watu wakamwambia tusikuone kwa maandamano ingine.
Yes.
And this is devoid of his legal issues, yeah?
Yeah.
Aya, mtu mwingine Morara Kebaso.
Yes.
Started very well.
Yeah.
Went to all over Nairobi, Kenya rather, showing projects that have failed and calling out the government where it has failed. He hata akaitisha pesa watu wakamchangia wakamnunulia, I think it was a V8. Then after a while again wamemchukia to the point whereby even he himself has quit.
Yes.
So who's going to lead these people? Because clearly they are not looking for a leader, and the leaders who are coming out hawawataki.
First of all, we must not blame the people for looking into the issues of the people who want to lead them. People will be right. That's why today, checks and balances, Robert Alai cannot be able to say people of Kileleshwa cannot check him. So the fact that the young people are checking the others is not a bad thing at all. That's what they must be able to do. And let others keep emerging and let them keep being checked. Because again, you don't become a leader of a people just because you are the one who is there. Just because you are their age mate. No. In fact, I remember at some point during the height of this Gen Z thing, the names they were mentioning were not names of their fellow Gen Zs. So just because you are young does not make you necessarily a proper leader. You can be young and connish.
Yes.
Yeah? You can be young and wrong. Yeah? So the Gen Z are not wrong to say, no, we don't want you because of this, we don't want you because of this. Because when I look at most of their issues, they're actually justified. What I keep saying is, they must be able to also look at those people, look at how those people behave, and be able to see what then the effect would be on some of the leaders that the leaders who are in office. I have argued that if my friend Morara could not sustain a few Facebook insults to the point of quitting, I've often asked him to put himself in the shoe of President William Ruto, in the shoe of Raila Odinga, who is insulted daily. What if those people were also quitting? You get? So even that is able to solidify those young leaders to understand that, by the way, the mandate of leadership is not a mean feat. It is not easy. So that you get to understand that. So tomorrow, the Moraras and the Kairos of this world are also made to become better people. Just because the people have told them, no, we do not want to, does not mean they will vanish. No, they are also looking at it. That's why you can be able, when you hear what they said before and what they say now, there is a bit of a difference. Because they are also getting more grounded.
Okay.
So the young people, even as much as they continue seeking for who to lead them, more need to emerge. There is no problem with people emerging. People must keep emerging, but also they must be patient with their own leaders, because again, we don't expect that we are going to just have a saint. Some people will have their own issues here and there. Analyze them, look deep into their issues, but also be a bit patient with them and give them an opportunity, because some of them also need to be nurtured. That's why there is an importance in mentorship in the leadership space. And even those young people, the problem also is, I've interviewed with some of them, and some of them think on the basis of being young, then you know everything. On the basis of being a Gen Z, then you know everything. So you should be able to guide everyone and anyone. At the end of the day, they must also be able to understand that those who came before you, there's also something they know. They might not get everything right, but there's what they can also add on to you, and there's something you can also add on to them.
All right.
Being young is not a monopoly of wisdom. We are again starting to think that age, just because I'm young, so I have monopoly of wisdom.
You know everything.
No, it's not like that. Just the same way being old is not a monopoly of wisdom. So we must be able to accommodate each other.
Yes, I've been asking myself,
yes,
is it true that these Gen Zs do not have leaders?
Not really. They have leaders. They just refuse to accept the reality. And also remember, by the way, the people who insist on the narrative of leaderless are not necessarily the Gen Zs. It is somebody feeding a narrative to them so that they bait it and pick it, so that some people continue leading them.
All right.
Because those ones who are leading them are not Gen Z, so they know that if these people create, if there can be a real leadership, then I will vanish, and yet me, There's people from civil society that we see every day who are over 40 years, who are the ones controlling this narrative.
Okay.
So they know that if there can be a true leadership of these people, then we will vanish. So we must keep putting these people in a cocoon where they believe that they are leaderless and whatever. Then we keep picking money from donors in the name of supporting this organization.
Yet you are leading them.
Yet you are actually leading them.
Robert, you had a comment on Honorable Moses Kuria quitting government and getting into politics. Maybe you can just elaborate on that. Of course, you said some things I can't say on air, but but your thoughts.
I think Central Kenya is trying to, and this is still with the conversations we have about the leaderless and the tribeless. People are trying to run away from their tribes. But how sustainable in the Kenyan context is the tribeless politics? The easiest, and the young people think that it is the weakest point, or somebody has told them that for you to have a massive movement, say you are tribeless. You see? So what Moses Kuria has done today, he has left the government side, because in the region he comes from, it doesn't look like, and you remember that Moses Kuria is one of the renegades outside there. At every given point, he has shown that he can rebel against the leadership of the, of the formation he is in. And that's why he came with his own political party. I think in the whole assembly, apart from UDA and ODM and Wiper, it is Moses Kuria who also has one MCA from in Chama cha Kazi. You see, and we need to realize that he has developed that. But the same Moses Kuria doesn't survive well in the politics withdrawn from the genitals, withdrawn from the cult of personalities, withdrawn from the easy to ride on issues. Where you say that, we sometimes say that, the politics of opposing the person in place is the easiest kind of politics. And that's why Moses Kuria was very easy to get, into the cabinet.
Right.
On the basis that he opposed BBI, that he was able to tell, despite coming from the same county with the Uhuru Kenyatta, he was able to tell off the then sitting president and able to garner, a massive kind of enough traction to enable him negotiate for himself and say that maybe I will be part of this formation. So maybe Moses Kuria will go back to the usual politics and say that I am going to help William Ruto neutralize Central Kenya, or neutralize the rebellion to an extent, maybe Kiambu alone, certain parts of Kiambu, or Moses Kuria will go back to the usual politics of the genitals, because we found he has not properly addressed that. It is one of the sad beats of the Kenyan politics.
Okay.
So I find Moses Kuria's leaving politics, leaving the president at this point, very suspect, because I doubt if both sides of the divide only trust him.
Okay.
Because you have to in Kenyan politics hakunanga katikati.
You're either here or there.
You're either here or there. And that is why I wish that Kenyans would give, more attention to Kalonzo Musyoka. But it's not interesting, and he cannot get more traction within the Kenyan political space because he is katikati on some issues.
Okay.
And he's moderate. People want an extreme person. And that's why in Nairobi, even in Nairobi, it's very hard to get a woman elected.
Okay.
In the whole of 85 wards, I think women properly elected on their own strength and their own influence are only 3.
Mheshimiwa, we have come to the end of the show, unfortunately. But
almost fast.
Yeah, it has really flown. But I hope when we call you again, you will be here.
I'll be here.
Mundalo,
don't come home. Meet up.
Umesema kwako mnaongea tu Kijaluo, so tutakuja. But Mundalo, also thank you so much for coming and for being such a sport in terms of the conversations, and I believe we get something amazing out of it. Sure. This is where we come to an end. Patricia, sema kwaheri.
Kwaheri, dear listener.
Yes.
Kutane tena kesho hapa
6 a.m. in the morning. Right now though, here is Winnie Maganga with the news.
generation. The home of urban soul.